I call this meeting to order at 6:09 PM. If you're able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Kelly,
Here.
Mikulski,
Here.
Sabatini. Here. Leaks May.
Here. All right. So first, we are going to, give me a second, I'm on the wrong agenda. I'm on the big agenda. We need the smaller agenda. Okay. Approval of the agenda, please.
I move to approve the agenda as presented. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Didn't sound like it. All right, so now it's called to audience, which I'm opening at 6:10 PM. You will have 3 minutes to speak on anything on or off the agenda, and I'm opening call to audience at 6:10 PM.
You guys know where this is going, right? Okay. Good. Good. Let's see. Yeah, greetings. Let's conduct a quick test. See if the council has learned anything from the pending litigation, okay? Fuck you. That's right, you can't do anything about it. I have freedom of speech. Seems that you guys have learned something about the value of freedom of expression. Unfortunately for the people of Ferndale, you've chosen to waste their tax dollars through your unconstitutional policies. And all of that after a Headley override. What the fuck is wrong with you? Now let's talk about the candidates, or rather, through the chair to the candidates. Each of the candidates that are here tonight seeking appointment for the vacant position on this esteemed public body should be aware of pending litigation between myself seeking significant damages from the city, this council, and the police department, with council members named in their official and personal capacities for a violation of my constitutional rights. Any member who joins the council tonight had better be prepared to advocate for the rights of individuals in this community to engage in their rights enshrined in the Constitution. Less that, I hope you have very good insurance or deep pockets to defend the lawsuit in which I will include you. In your personal and official capacity, a $500 monthly stipend will not cover the cost of litigations and certainly won't keep me from attaching myself to your retirement or a lien on your house if you're cash poor. On tonight's consent agenda is an RFCA to modify the council rules of procedure to remove profanity, personal attacks, and non-germane comments. Yes, it's progress. Yet, it does not meet the requirements established by the Sixth Circuit Court to be content neutral by continuing to prohibit slander, obscene comments, disruptive or disorderly conduct, which the city ordinance defines as offensive conduct. These are content-based restrictions and are unconstitutional. The current council members and Donnie Johnson, God rest his soul, have already fucked themselves in this city. To the person who joins the council tonight, you are being put on notice that if you adopt this unconstitutional policy, you're next. I'm watching and waiting.
Call to audience is still open? Okay. All right. Then I'm closing call to audience at 6:13 PM. And now we're moving on to the regular agenda, appointment to council vacancy. And I'm going to defer to the city manager to talk about the process tonight.
Yes, so we have 3 candidates joining us this evening. For the candidate Q&A, all candidates will be asked the same 8 questions. Those are the questions before council now that were created by the individual members. Candidates will be called up in alphabetical order by last name. We are asking as a courtesy that the 2 members who are not speaking first join Assistant City Manager Krazan outside of council chambers so everyone has a neutral and equal perspective getting the questions fresh. Immediately following the third speaker, council will have to call the question, that being what candidate you prefer to fill the vacancy, at which time discussion and debate can ensue, and then immediately be followed by a vote. We do not plan to swear in the candidate at this meeting. That will occur at the regular meeting, and the individual who's selected this evening will not be expected to participate in the regular meeting other than to be sworn in towards the end of the meeting, so we will ask them to stay after for that. Are there any questions about the process? Okay, so then I would ask Chris Hall as our first speaker to the podium, and if the other two candidates could join or are willing to join Mr. Curzan, we will call you in when we're ready. And then I'll just note, we are trying to stay within the 10 to 15-minute window per candidate. So we'll ask Ms. Coleman to put up 15 minutes as a sort of not-to-exceed marker.
Hello, Madam Mayor and City Council. How's everyone doing today?
Yeah, you have the first question.
Good. Thank you. Through the
I don't know
chair.
how to start.
Oh, wait, Riley, can you restart that? We got, okay. You had the first question, yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Chris, thank you for being here. What are your thoughts on a Ferndale Community Center? Are you an advocate for a new purpose-built facility, or would you prefer to explore what can be done with the existing Kulik structure on Livernois? Please explain your reasoning, including what funding mechanisms you envision the city exploring for a project of this scale.
I will say I am definitely for keeping the Kulik Center. I think it's extremely important. I think what we should do in regards to that is looking for grants that would help with that. I do believe there is a cooling and heating regional for Oakland County, some kind of grant that we can help fund with that. I think also using a public and private kind of standpoint, maybe if we get a non-health organization or a company in there in lieu of them paying monthly payments. Also, anything in general that can help with the cost of that, I think that's really beneficial, and also in-kind contributions as well.
Great. What perspective of lived experience would you bring that is currently missing or underrepresented on council?
Great question. In my previous roles, I was able to negotiate contracts with U.S. Bank, Wells Fargo, and review those for the best of my previous company that I worked for, ensuring that it was putting the company first. I think that skill set will help, making sure like Ferndale is winning in any kind of contract that they put themselves in. Also, in my previous role, just communication and leading with transparency. I value that, and I think it's very important to have that on City Council, and just a voice of reason.
Hey, Chris.
Hey.
Cities are constantly balancing limited resources against growing needs. When evaluating budgets, projects, or staffing priorities, what guides your thinking in determining whether the impacts of those decisions are being felt fairly across the city?
I believe looking at everything overall, seeing where we're currently at. I think that's the first thing we have to do and assess that situation, and look at the current market. As we all know, the market's really rough for all people of America right now with costs and et cetera. I think seeing what the library, I believe that they're doing a bond as well. I do know that we have a police and fire bond in the works right now, and figuring out a balance. I think that's really key. I think residents have been feeling the high tax burden with Headley and et cetera. So getting down to the nuts and bolts and being able to negotiate and just meeting in the middle, I think that's key.
As expected, there are different perspectives and communication styles among council members. How would your communication style foster an environment of mutual respect, whether we agree or disagree?
I think the first part of communicating is listening. Listening is the first step. If you are not, usually when people communicate, they're just trying to be louder than the next person and not necessarily hearing them. And my perspective is listening, digesting what someone's saying, and communicating it back out. If there's any kind of confusion, going back and just saying questions, say, hey, can you clarify that? And just being able to just overall, I think, listening and not taking things personally. I think business is first, and there's a difference between church and state. That's my philosophy.
Can you describe your approach to handling complex or divisive issues that may split public opinion?
I believe that, again, we have to listen to the residents of Ferndale. It's not about what I want, it's about what the public wants. And listening to them, taking that input, and figuring out a way to bridge the gap. With everything that's happening with the Jewish community, police brutality, racial injustice, and figuring out a way where we can still coexist and meeting people where they're at, and then figuring out solutions that we can get to a point where there's harmony, or the best that we can with harmony.
How would you balance decisions when stakeholders, council priorities, and your personal views are all pulling in different directions?
For me personally, I would say it's not about me anymore. When you're up on council, there's a higher standard, and you have to champion the residents. And then also with council, figuring out a way to, I would say, you're not going to make everyone happy. This is simple as put. And figuring out a way that we can meet in the middle, be centered. And I know there's outside influences that may jargon or mix things up. And at the end of the day, it's business. And all we can do is communicate with the public and lead with transparency. And hopefully they can come on that journey with us.
When you think about environmental sustainability at the city level, what practical policies or investments do you think make the biggest difference over time, and why?
Infrastructure is really important, making sure that we are preserving our trees, making sure that, holding power, like if we're figuring out if we can use solar energy and whatnot. I do know that the beautification, they do a lot of wallflowers and stuff like that. I think we can do a lot with that information, and also preserving our buildings. I think that's really key as well. Not overly smashing things down, and et cetera, and just getting it done, I would say, from an environmental perspective, and working with other organizations in the Metro Detroit area if we need help with grants and et cetera.
As a council member, you can expect that community members will reach out to you for any reason. While it is understandable to want to achieve a favorable resolution during times of discourse, how would you respond if no resolution was possible?
I would say first, thank you for everyone that knocked on my door who came up after the meeting when I was appointed. There was a lot of discussions that happened at my front door. I would say we're not going to agree at the end of the day. We're just not. I think yelling at someone, getting aggressive, and being pointed That's not okay. And you have to continue to build trust. If you don't have trust, it's going to be broken at the end of the day. And you just got to keep communicating with them and building those relationships and just being a listening ear.
So if you'd like, you can ask the candidate if they have anything else to add at this point. Otherwise, we can move forward to our next candidate now that the formal questions have concluded. Mayor, that would be your discretion.
So I will leave, if you all have any other questions, you can go ahead and ask them, and we can go in the order that we went in before. Any additional questions that maybe, or some clarity, or some sort of clarity on a question that's already been asked, since we have time? Start with you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No additional questions at this time.
No additional questions from myself.
Chris, just a follow-up question. If you had to pick one thing from the environmental sustainability at the city level that was a policy or investment that would make the biggest difference, what would it be?
I would say preserving our trees right now. That would be the biggest one.
All right. I don't think I have any follow-up questions, but what I will do is provide you an opportunity to ask us something, if you'd like.
So I would say, I know that we're looking overall with the city in regards to what we can elevate in the housing crisis that we're having currently. What would be everyone's ideal situation on how we can get things more affordable in regards to housing in Ferndale?
Order, or however.
Yeah, that's a big one. Thank you, through the chair. Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's a big one.
Sorry.
No, I think, I think we need to, this came up earlier in the year when we were talking about the pilot program, and one of the things that I took issue with was the definitions of affordable and attainable housing, specifically what I saw as outdated metrics set by the state and federal government of what those ranges of AMI, adjusted median income, how those are defined, and how in today's dollars and in today's percentages of what people are spending on housing, I think that needs to be looked at. And, as a council body, we can talk about doing things like approving pilot programs or not, and also advocating in Lansing, which I think we definitely need to do.
Kelly, do you have any comment?
No, I'll let y'all.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Mikulski?
I would say, first and foremost, we always have to acknowledge there's market rate and they're subsidized, and there is nothing in between. So we walk the fine line of how do we build enough to make market rate come down in pricing, and is that possible in a landlocked city the size of Ferndale? Or are there ways that we can subsidize to put, long-term affordable housing onto the market? Also, looking at the scope of overall cost burdens for our residents is part of the affordability question. So really, it's too complex to answer in one short time period here, but I think as a council body, we are looking at all of the solutions, and we are pursuing all of them.
So I will also state that, to Mayor Pro Tem's point, that, again, there's a difference between affordability, affordable housing, and market rate. And we're trying to be, as a council, trying to be intentional as to provide as many diverse housing options as possible with the little bit of landlocked space that we do have. I think that while we are figuring that out, I think it's important for us to continue to find resources and ways in which to at least ease, because we have such a high tax rate here in the community, to ease other burdens to assist residents to be able to maybe like with their housing needs or any sort of resources to help them afford the basics. Maybe if there's something that the city can do regarding that would be my intention and something I would focus on.
And then my last question, I spoke to some folks in the community, also with the Inclusion and Accessibility Commission. There's been a trend right now with the e-bikes and e-bikes being on sidewalks. I think it's very important to have e-bikes and accessibility for folks who can't manually use a bike. I was wondering, what are your thoughts about kind of having like an ordinance in place in regards to the e-bikes, utilizing our bike lanes instead of using the sidewalk, and just making sure there's safety across the board and ensuring that Ferndale continues to be a walkable city?
Great question. I think that with Plan Ferndale and us wanting to be a walkable city and a city that supports multimodal transport, multiple ways of getting around and accessing everything we have to offer, I think it's something we could look at. I hesitate to say, yes, let's do an ordinance. We'd have to look at, why are folks not riding the bike lanes because they're feeling unsafe, and are we going to force them to ride in the bike lanes? Less people are going to use other modes of transportation. Yes, let's look at it, but I don't have a definitive yes or no answer for you, sorry.
Yeah, we can look at that.
All right.
All right.
But thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our next candidate is Nina LaSalle.
Hello.
1 second, Nina, just.
Ready. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hi, Nina, thank you for being with us. My first question is, what are your thoughts on a Ferndale Community Center? Are you an advocate for a new purpose-built facility, or would you prefer to explore what can be done with the existing Kulik structure on Livernois? Please explain your reasoning and include what funding mechanisms you envision the city exploring for a project of this scale.
Okay, so I definitely support a community center. I love the idea of a third space, having somewhere to go for kids, seniors, all members of the community. I do favor rehabbing over complete new construction. I feel like generally it is more cost effective to reuse. It's more sustainable. And then as far as funding sources go, I would want to explore grant funding. I know CDBG funds potentially can be used. I know there's a school in Pontiac that's currently being redeveloped to be a community center, and they got funding from, I believe, the MEDC. So I would want to explore grant opportunities, partnerships with them, yes. And then, yeah.
That's great, thank you.
What perspective of lived experience would you bring that is currently missing or underrepresented on council?
So I have experience in government finance. I also have experience managing grant funding. So definitely a heavy finance background, and that's what my biggest skill I think I would bring.
Sorry, right, slow. Cities are constantly balancing limited resources against growing needs. When evaluating budgets, projects, or staffing priorities, what guides your thinking in determining whether the impacts of those decisions are being felt fairly across the city?
So I like looking at historical data. I like seeing the decisions that we've made in the past and learning from that. So I like to spend slowly. I like to have as much information as possible, recognize that we need to weigh all of our options. We need to weigh the decisions that we've made in the past. If we need to fix anything, we need to change stream. Yeah. Was there more that I did not answer? I'm sorry. I was.
One question.
I think you got most of it. We had ended on whether the impacts of those decisions are being felt fairly across the city.
Yeah, so definitely too, listening to the community, trying to get as much engagement as possible before making decisions. Doing outreach in multiple neighborhoods, in multiple spaces, making sure that we do our part to include the city and don't just rely on the people of the city to just know everything and be informed, because people work, have families, it's hard.
Hello, Nina. As expected, there are different perspectives and communication styles among council members. How would your communication style foster an environment of mutual respect, whether we agree or disagree?
So I always ask questions. I like having discussions. I like knowing as much information as possible. I know that I don't know everything. I know that my experience is very different from everyone else's experience. I try to give people platforms and make sure that they feel comfortable sharing what they want to share, and learning from them and just coming to it like collaboratively. Definitely not speaking for everyone, really just trying to come together, like lead from the middle, and yeah.
Can you describe your approach to handling complex or divisive issues that may split public opinion?
So I guess talk to both sides, see why this is considered such a divisive subject, and see like why it's affecting people personally, where they do feel divided on it. I would hope with local city government, it's much easier for us to come together, because I think we all have very, very similar wants and needs. We live in Ferndale for a reason. So I'd really just get into the why of it and see if I can see their perspective. If I can change their mind, they can change mine.
How would you balance decisions when your resident and business stakeholders, council priorities, and your personal views are all pulling in different directions?
A good one. I would put my opinion in the back. I understand that I'm a representative, and I do have very strong personal convictions, and understanding that I could potentially be a minority in the city, that I don't see something the way the majority of the city sees. I know I have my personal beliefs, but I also know that the people of the city have their own. Trying to bridge that gap, and then with other city council members, I would want to weigh their opinions as well, especially I'm coming into this with no experience, and you are the people that I would want to learn from. And then like city departments, I would want to definitely talk to them about their experience. So if I'm making a decision for like the police department, talk to the police first and see where they're coming from, because they're clearly the expert in that field. I wouldn't know as much as they would. And with the business owners, talk to them first, because I'm not a business owner. I don't know all of the problems that they face, and try to understand.
When you think about environmental sustainability at the city level, what practical policies or investments do you think make the biggest difference over time, and why?
So I think community engagement is a really big one. I think we all have to take responsibility for it. So I would love the city to provide more encouragement and funding to help the residents be more sustainable. So maybe we can do something like home improvement to make your house more energy efficient, teach like classes on native gardening and how important that can be, watching your basement for any water backups, and just really treating it like a community project. That's how I would want to do it. And I think it's most sustainable that way, when everyone's on board.
As a council member, you can expect that community members will reach out to you for any reason. It's a small community. While it's understandable to want to achieve a favorable resolution during those concerning times of discourse, How would you respond if no resolution was possible?
I would try to have a frank conversation as to why the resolution was not possible. Really try to give people the information and have the transparency. I know that there are things that are very personal to people, and this is, something very, very important to them, and treat it with that respect and understand that everyone deserves to be happy in their community. So really just try to understand.
Same thing, round robin.
No, no additional, Madam Mayor.
No additional questions from me.
Hold on.
I have an additional question. It was just a follow-up question on your answer about listening to the community and doing outreach to folks in the community, for instance, in regards to evaluating budgets, projects, or staffing priorities. How do you envision yourself reaching out to the community? Like, what would be the best mode for you to reach out to the community?
So I am not on social media, so definitely not anything involving that. So I would want to be in community spaces. So when we have the festivals downtown, make sure that there's a strong presence of, hey, you're here for Pride. What do you want? Like, what do you want to see in this city? Going to other spaces like that, interacting with schools, and because I know parents want to be involved because they want a good community for their kids. So just exploring the spaces that I can go into, like physical spaces, is what I would like to do.
Thank you.
So I have a question, and only because I accept criticism, constructive criticism, so I want something from you. Based on what you've seen and initiatives that the city has taken on in the past, is there anything that sticks out that maybe we can do better?
I would like to see less tax incentives for developers. I think Ferndale is a very desirable place. I think we can get development without giving them leeway. And I think we can also prioritize more like affordable housing. We can readjust what we consider workforce housing and what our AMI limits should be. Those are two big ones.
Opportunity for you to ask us a question.
Okay. Can I ask about the lawsuit? That makes me a little nervous. Can I ask, what is going on with that?
Through the chair, I think the practice of counsel is not to discuss potential or ongoing litigation.
Okay. I guess, yeah, that's really the big one in my mind right now is understanding the heaviness of being a public-facing figure. Yeah. So maybe you can give me some advice on that, how you handle being in the public eye and facing criticism.
First,
I also need that same advice, so, yeah, I mean, almost 6 months in, and still trying to figure it out. I mean, I stay authentic, true to yourself. I think Madam Mayor said, you're going to face criticism and try not to take it personally. Do your best. Sorry, that's all I got.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I would say that's one of the hardest parts for me is, taking that, and everybody has an opinion. And, yeah, I think you just have to know that you're here to serve and do what's right, and just show up and be your best person. And hopefully you can feel good about the decisions you're making and trust yourself.
I could echo all of that, but what I'm going to say on top of this is, in public service, you're an extension of all the people around you, of your community, of everybody. And the fact that you raised your hand, the fact that you are willing to be here, it says a lot, and it means that your heart's in the right place already. So really, it becomes a matter of grace and graciousness and really being able to weather the storm when things feel weird and just being your best self on a daily basis.
And I will just add that, just remember why you applied and your reasons behind it. There's no self-gratifying agenda here. You want to do what's best for the community. You want to be a voice and hear what the community needs and their wants are. You recognize that it's not about you and that it's about the people who elect us. And just in case you're still nervous, there are 4 of us up here who are dealing with that right now, and you always have someone to lean on. So just know that support's out there, as well as staff. They get it as well.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for applying.
And our final candidate is Jim McLucky.
Hello.
Before you start, hold on. Just 1 second, Jim. Writing faster than I've ever written in my life. All right, you're up if you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, yes. Hi, Jim, thanks for being here. My first question is, what are your thoughts on a Ferndale Community Center? Are you an advocate for a new purpose-built facility, or would you prefer to explore what can be done with the existing Kulik structure on Livernois? Please explain your reasoning, including what funding mechanisms you envision the city exploring for a project of this scale.
Very good question. As I said before, I'm definitely an advocate for the Kulik Center. Main reason being, I think it's a part of the city already. It adds character to our city. I'm a big advocate for maintaining our historic buildings. So that would be the way I would go. As far as funding mechanisms go, honestly, I'm open to whatever makes the most sense. If it's a bond, if it's some sort of millage. I know residents are very finance conscious, so it would have to work with the residents. I think that's the best way to put it.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, that's me. What perspective of lived experience would you bring that is currently missing or underrepresented?
That's a very good question. I think I might be the only technology nerd on council, perhaps. Laura, I don't know if you're kind of in that area. I think just my experience in software, technology in general, customer support, and internal support. So those things are kind of core to what I do. I always want myself to be a go-to resource. I always absorb as much information as possible in whatever area I'm working in so that I'm not just siloed to my one job description. I want to be able to help people in different ways. So I think that's the biggest thing, like the way Laura, the way you interact with folks on the forums, just helping people, answering basic questions. Those are the sorts of things that I would just love to do. It's low-hanging fruit, and it's some of the most meaningful work you can do is just helping people get the right person on the line, or answer a simple question or something, just to move things along and make somebody's day better. So.
Cities are constantly balancing limited resources against growing needs. When evaluating budgets, projects, or staffing priorities, what guides your thinking in determining whether the impacts of those decisions are being felt fairly across the city?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Oh, that's a lot, right?
No.
When evaluating budgets, projects, or staffing priorities, what guides your thinking in determining whether the impacts of those decisions are being felt fairly across the city?
The first place I go is I would want to sit down with all the stakeholders and get everybody's perspective. Anytime it comes to making decisions with great consequences, I need a lot of information. I need to absorb as much as possible so that I don't have blind spots, so that I'm not just putting all the weight over here and completely missing, this group over here. So, and just the fact that there's, this is on-the-job training, there's a lot I don't know about the city and how it functions. So I need to sit down with people and understand how these things work in order to be able to make a decision. So if we get all the right people at the table, and we're all focused on the same North Star, I would feel much better making my decision based off of, everybody's input and finding the best, most reasonable way forward.
As expected, there are different perspectives and communication styles on council. How would your communication style foster an environment of mutual respect, whether we agree or disagree?
Yeah, I think, I know some people are familiar with, how I might interact on the internet. I might be a little more, spicy, I guess. But it all comes from a place of respect. I respect people's differing opinions, even if it may appear that I don't. I'm a realistic person. I don't know. I don't try to hide who I am. This is it. Like, this is me. So, I know I'll probably need a little sprucing up if I were on council, be a little more respectful. But, it all comes from a place of caring. I'm passionate. I might get caught up in my feelings sometimes, but it's coming from a good place ultimately, even if it doesn't seem like it.
Can you describe your approach to handling complex or divisive issues that may split public opinion?
I think I immediately go back to the whole Headley discussion. That was obviously a very divisive issue. I try to stick to the facts as much as possible in kind of building up my arsenal, for lack of better terms. I don't like to rely on just feelings about how things should be. I need to understand, like, how are things boxed in? Okay, what are the factors? How do with Headley, it was how property taxes are generated and where that money goes, and the Headley and Proposal A and all that stuff. So that's kind of like, that's my anchor to reality. So I always try to bring it back to that, and that's really what I did a lot of the time with, pushing for it. I felt that ultimately it was the right thing for the city to do, to get some sort of override. That was the most responsible thing for the city to do. So that's where I kept pushing. And I know, like, something like that's like black or white, yes or no. There's kind of like, you have to make a decision and that's it. So I know there's going to be hurt feelings when people who don't agree with it, but I ultimately fall back on that it was the most responsible thing for us to do, and that's just where I ended up.
So mine's kind of in the same line, but how would you balance decisions when residents and business stakeholders, council priorities, and your personal views are all pulling in different directions?
That's a good question. It's really hard to say without having a specific example, but again, I need to know from everybody's perspective, like where they're aiming towards. I have my own personal feelings, but in terms of being on council. I'm ultimately a vessel for these different groups, you know, the residents, businesses, visitors, other stakeholders. So obviously, you know, my personal feelings and beliefs will factor into that. But that's just one small piece of it. And it really, I want to take feedback and input from as many different people as possible to get as full of a picture that when it comes to making a specific decision, we can hopefully whittle down as much as possible, find the signal in the noise. I feel like that's one of my strengths when it comes to problem solving is separating the noise from the signal. So, yeah, just getting the right stakeholders, getting everybody's feedback, and trying to whittle away at what we can do with that feedback, understanding that, like, I would love for everybody to get a piece of what they want. That's the ideal scenario, but it's not always going to be like that. And hopefully we're, you know, ending up at the right decision.
When you think about environmental sustainability at the city level, what practical policies or investments do you think make the biggest difference over time and why?
Trees. That's a very obvious one. You can tell the difference walking downtown on a shaded street versus a sunny street. Just the way trees help the environment, help, you know, utility bills. There was just recently a report on NPR about how trees, for every dollar spent on trees, it brings back $3 of income, or I might be mixing that up a little bit, but that's a huge thing that I think we can do. I love what we're doing with the water line replacements. That's all very important. Our sewer and water system is critical. It's crucial. It's maybe the most crucial system that we have. So as long as we're investing in that properly and making sure it's well maintained, so we can avoid, you know, major issues, like I believe Rochester's sort of dealing with something like that. So that's the noticeable stuff that residents and businesses see. Sidewalks are important as well. Just making sure that everybody, regardless of how they can get around, can get around. Yeah, I think, yeah.
As a council member, you can expect that community members will reach out to you for any reason. While it's understandable to want to achieve a favorable resolution during times of discourse, how would you respond if no resolution was possible?
Oof, that's a tough one. Again, kind of what I alluded to before. I anchor myself to what can be done. So when it comes down to, you know, somebody reaching out and there's nothing that really can be done in that scenario, like, that's a tough one for me, because I don't like leaving people hanging, but I understand that there is a finality to it. We hit a wall and there's nothing possible beyond that wall. It's just going to be a matter of letting them down as gently as possible, showing that I've done enough before I've gotten to that point. Because again, I hate being I'm sorry, that's not my jurisdiction, move on to somebody else. I hate doing that. So as long as I can show that, I've gone as far as I could, I'm hoping that would give the person at least, a reaction of, this stinks, but I get it. So that's where I would go in that situation.
No additional questions from me, Madam Mayor.
None for me either.
Also none.
Okay. All right. So time do we have left? Opportunity, a few minutes, a minute or so for you to ask us a question.
Oh, man, that might be the toughest question. I guess, like, where do you guys see, what gap do you guys see on the current council? Like, where do we need help the most?
Easy one, Jim, thanks. No, I think we need help. We're missing another voice. We're missing another perspective, and we need help. We're only 4 people, and there's a lot to go over. We're not subject matters on everything, and so it sounds like your software and tech background would be an asset in this instance. But yeah, I mean, we need a lot of things, and so yeah, we would, yeah. I don't know. I mean, we need a lot of
And
Uh,
things.
I would echo what Councilmember Sabatini said. You know, we need another voice, a diverse voice, a different voice to help us move forward. I would acknowledge the gap that Councilmember Johnson left, and he was very financially savvy, and that was very helpful, and it helped us, you know, find some different funds to move some different projects forward. So that's obviously a gap there. And yeah, there's all kinds of different ways you could fill that space.
Am I out of time?
I mean, it's your guys'
Go ahead and
show.
answer it. 'Cause I want to answer too.
I mean, again, echoing what everybody else said, I think you have a certain skill set that basically you got into the playoffs, and it is a valuable skill set. We also, there are 2 council members that have been up here with me since I was elected back in 2019 that stood out as skill sets that were really critical on this council. One was legal, one was financial. And those are big gaps that we have right now.
And I would say that you bring a skill set as well as the other 20 people brought different skill sets. So I think that what's most important to me is that you want to be here, you want to be a part of the council, and you want to do what's best for the community to the best of your ability, and you will bring that perspective, whatever that is. So I think that we're fortunate to have had so many applicants, so I thank you for applying.
Absolutely, thank you.
So that does conclude our candidates for the special meeting. I'll note for the public, we are still wrapping up a special meeting, so there'll be a slight delay to the start of our regular meeting. At this point, if council would like to consider a motion for a particular candidate, that would open up the discussion and the debate period.
All right. It's already 7? My word. Okay. Okay. So I think that just based on what we've heard, if there's anyone standing out, we would make a motion for that person, and then we would vote on that person. Take a couple minutes to think about it. We wrote a lot of notes.
Yeah.
A lot to go through, so.
For the purposes of discussion, I would move to appoint Nina LaSalle to fill the city council vacancy effective May 26, 2026, to a term expiring December 31st, 2027, if you are still amenable to it.
Through the chair, one suggestion might be that it would take effect at the last item of regular business in the regular council meeting this evening.
So this one,
As far as the commencement of that motion. That was one suggestion. You know, the motion hasn't been seconded, but that would be a suggestion as to when it takes effect.
To amend your motion to include that it would take effect at the second to last item of the regular meeting.
Amend the motion to what Dan Chris said.
So that it would take effect on the second from last item of the regular council agenda,
Take
which
effect on the
is
second to last item on the
9A.
regular agenda item. Thank you very much, Dan Christ.
We would need a second.
I don't think there's been a second, Mayor.
That's what I'm saying, we would need a second.
This is, the second is to kick off discussion, or, okay, second.
So now we discuss.
I have a million thoughts. First of all, first and foremost, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Renee, who is not here right now. Thank you, all the people who applied to this. It is a brutal process. This is like a mini election, and you saw how bad the elections have been in this town. I think that we are very lucky that we've had a lot of folks step up to the plate. Nina, from the minute that I talked to you, I was really excited about you mentioning something that was potentially useful for funding that nobody had mentioned before, and that people disagreed with me on when I mentioned that you had mentioned it. And came to find out that you are correct, and that it was something that, again, was just not explored in the past, and we have the ability to explore it in the future. That kind of deep knowledge is something that we're missing, especially in those instances where I, as a council member who do not have your background and cannot know the things that you know because you work in municipal finance in a way that I will never fully grasp because I don't work in the trenches. With your grants background, with your municipal finance background, and the ability to point out a thread of truth that I can pull on to potentially find funding for the thing that is one of the most important things in this town and was probably the deciding factor in the last election, it means a lot. That level of transparency and knowledge was greatly appreciated.
So, something that stood out to me, which I think is really important, in addition to everything else, I really liked the fact that, Nina, you stated that you would want to learn from council and you would want to reach out to the departments before making decisions. I think that's extremely important because we're already faced with legislatures who want to make decisions for our small communities, kind of a one-size-fits-all, without coming to our communities to determine what's needed here. And I think it's important that you would want to reach out to those departments to say, hey, what do you need before making a decision? I like that a lot. Also, I like that you pointed out how you would want to have a strong presence outside. And that's just, when I say outside, it's a little bit of slang, but, you know, outside, being out there in the community at events, just with the presence to kind of share. As you can see, there's 4 of us up here. I have no intention in being everywhere all of the time, so I count on everyone else to be at these events too. So I like that a lot as well. And then, of course, your background as far as finance and things like that also stood out to me. So I thought that was very strong. The discussion doesn't have to end with me. We can keep going.
You don't want to go?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You can go.
Through the chair, yeah, I think I would echo what Mayor Pro Tem Mikulski said. There's a lot of great candidates, and Madam Mayor, I believe you said over the 20-plus, there was, you know, everybody that showed up, thoughtful, prepared. It gives me a lot of hope for the level of engagement we have with the city. You know, I think, I said this in the first one, I think we're in some way splitting hairs with the assets that, you know, these folks bring with their different resumes and professional experience. because you could make a case for any and every one, including the 20 other applicants that didn't make it to this stage in the process. It was a difficult process, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of research. And I think I want to extend this, and I really mean this. Anybody who in 2 years wants to run, reach out to me when it's time to select signatures, and I'm here to help. Because I think anybody that wants to be on the ballot and serve Ferndale deserves to be. So I want to help you at least get to that stage if that's what you're interested in. Okay, so enough on the process and everyone. I think that these final 3 candidates, Chris, Nina, and Jim, thank you for being so well prepared, thoughtful answers. You obviously care deeply. You're showing up in the community already, which I love and appreciate. I think I can speak for everyone when I say that. Jim, I loved the answer about needing as much information as possible. Where's Jim? There's Jim. I think that's a great approach. We can't create in a vacuum, as they say, and not having all the data is how we can rush things and make mistakes. Chris, we don't probably have enough time. We're already running over. The amount that you show up for Ferndale already, it's no surprise that you had thoughtful answers to all of these questions. I really loved your consideration of a holistic approach when it comes to the problems facing Ferndale and the variety of categories, infrastructure, affordability. You're thinking about it all already, which is amazing. Nina, I'll echo what Mayor Pro Tem Mikulski said. Your finance background and your solutions, thoughtfulness on Kulik, great. I loved your take on affordable housing. I think I said the same things a few minutes earlier when somebody asked when Chris asked about what we can do when it comes to affordability in Ferndale. So you're thinking about that. I really appreciate that. Hope we can talk about that further as a community. There's more to say, but I'll cede the floor to Councilmember Kelly.
Sure. I too want to thank everyone for coming out and putting yourself out there. It's not easy, and this process was not easy. I want to thank Jim and Chris for being here tonight and sharing yourselves so thoughtfully and your thoughts and caring about our community. For me, tonight is my vote is about skill set. I've said that from the beginning. It's not personal or political agendas. It's about skill set, and it's obvious that we had a strong financial person on here before, and they are no longer with us. And I think, Nina, what you bring to the table will be really valuable for us moving forward with all the projects that we have upcoming with the police and fire and Kulik and all the finances that will be needed for that. I think you could be really helpful in that field. So that's where I'll be going this evening.
So I just wanted final comment that yes, I do thank everyone for applying. This was good. This was very exciting, and I love that so many people are invested in this community. For Chris Hall, I like that I spoke about being outside. Well, you are outside. You're outside a lot, and people notice it. And I think I want to take this opportunity to state just how many people kind of reached out in terms of support for you and for other candidates as well. I just want to make note of that and make that part of the record. Mr. McLucky, I like how you said about how you don't like leaving people hanging, and hitting a wall is difficult, but showing the effort and being transparent. We face that a lot all of the time, and I just, even when there's no resolution. And I sometimes there's sleepless nights when there are no resolutions like that, but I know that we can only do so much, and I appreciate you recognizing that and acknowledging that. And then, as far as, uh-oh, I lost it. Where's it at? Okay. And for Nina LaSalle, I like that you stated you always want to ask questions and want to know as much as possible. And your desire and focus is to learn from others. I think that it's really easy to be loud, but it's very difficult to be silent. And I just think that I appreciate you bringing that to the forefront, because I think it's important. Again, I want to thank everyone who applied. But I think that for me, right now, with the hope that everyone will be involved in some way possible, please don't disappear. We saw you now, so you're out there, so please show up and participate if you're not participating already. But I think regarding the skill set that I've seen right now and where we're at right now with our projects that are in place, the developments that are coming to the forefront, and the need to find more funding, I think that I would be supporting Nina tonight. Any more comments? We will get a roll call.
Mikulski,
Yes.
Sabatini,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes. Thank you all for applying, and welcome aboard, Nina. All right, I don't know about you all, but let's just take 3 minutes for a break, if that's okay. And then we'll start our regular council meeting.
Can you
This
just-
meeting's adjourned, sorry?
That's what I was going to say.
This meeting's adjourned at 7:15. Thank you. Ready to just jump up and say we're I'm calling this meeting to order at 7:24 PM. And I don't know, I guess with everything that's kind of happened, do we go through the process all over again as if a new meeting is starting? Okay, all right. Then, if you're able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have a roll call, please?
Kelly,
Here.
Mikulski,
Here.
Sabatini. Present. Leaks May.
Here. And approval of the agenda, please.
Move to approve the agenda.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? Okay. We have no presentations tonight, so now we will go to call to audience, where you'll have 3 minutes to state anything on, or to speak on anything on or off the agenda. Please state your name and address if you'd like, or you can sign up in the back there. But I'm opening call to audience at 7:25 PM. 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kevin Smieski. I live at 211 East Camborne, and I'm here about the sidewalks. So I've got 4 out of my 10 that need to be replaced consecutively, and I wasn't provided any documentation about what specifically was wrong with each slab. I got a note saying 4 need to be replaced, and the letters marked don't really have any reasoning. So I'm wondering if you guys could provide the documentation on what specifically is violated for each sidewalk block, so that if I choose to do it myself, I can do it properly. So that's all I want. Yeah.
And Kevin, I believe we have our DPW director who can probably speak to you on that. Thank you.
Hello, this is Courtney Woody. I'm at 603 West Hazelhurst, and just kind of piggybacking off what he was inquiring about the sidewalks, just had a couple of questions. Similar to him, there's one sidewalk, not really sure why it's being replaced. It's level, there's no major damage, so just trying to understand the methodology there. And then furthermore, a couple of years back, I just paid thousands of dollars to have my front lawn sodded, so I'd really love to understand, what is the city going to do to ensure that grass doesn't die? Because I don't, like, throwing grass seed and putting hay on it, I don't think is a viable solution. So, yeah, would just really love to understand that, so I can kind of protect my investment of my personal property on the front lawn to maintain my curb appeal.
I will encourage you to get in that conversation that's happening right outside right now with the DPW director, Courtney. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Hi, Council. Joan and Jason Smith at 445 East Camborne Street.
More or less just piggybacking just on everyone else as well, but with ours, there's a letter D placed on our sidewalk. Now, with the letter D, it says that there's a huge divot in our section, but we don't see where this huge divot is. One of the solutions would be, I'd say, going forward, have like a piece of paint of where this divot is. Also because, I mean, everything else on here makes sense, A, B, C. If it's too high, too low, understandable. But when it comes to a divot, which we don't see it on our side, which it sounds like we're going to have to talk to the gentleman behind us to go over it. But, you know, this is taking, of course, people's time, you know, because your time, our time, we all have things to do. Second thing is, this wasn't brought up, I was kind of curious, but our taxes, do they go towards the sidewalks? And if they don't, like, is there a certain percentage that goes to them? Because as you all know, we pay a pretty substantial amount of taxes each year. And besides just, you know, the police, fire department, what does our money actually go towards?
Yeah, I just want to add that without clarity on where the issue is at, then I think Kevin already mentioned this, but we can't know if we choose to go with our own contractor, what we're asking them to do. So we don't know if we've actually fixed the problem. It's unclear to us as to what section of sidewalk, because they're in the blocks, so which block it is, because they all appear to be of sound quality. So we'll go talk to them, but wanted to raise the awareness on this, so that maybe the process can be streamlined in the future.
I believe that, I don't know which one of us is on the sidewalk hardship committee, but are they meeting or have they met? They've not.
It's me.
Yeah, they would not meet until after the assessments are
After the
concluded and we have applicants.
Got it. Okay.
Excuse me.
All right, so that's something that maybe through communications we can get out as well regarding when that's happening. And I don't know if you don't have as many projects to do already, but maybe some sort of clarity as to what to do and maybe an explanation as to what the categories mean would be helpful for individuals in the future. But yes, you will be having a conversation with our DPW director, and we've heard you as far as clarity.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bernadette Rabban, 355 West Saratoga, and I also speak behalf my daughter. She lives in 379 West Saratoga. She is out of country for her job. So our side, the sidewalk, early mine and hers, I don't think I need any replace or any repair. Plus, for me, I don't know about my daughter, because my daughter just started maybe 5 years in the house. I've been 43 years in this house. So we replaced it maybe around 10 years ago. The city replaced it, and I remember I think I paid $600-700 at that time. So I don't know, what do you think? Or what I need to do? He showed me, like he said, would it need to be fixed? It's not like any bump, it's all smooth and nice.
So more questions regarding like the clarity and what's.
Yeah, what do you need me to do, you know?
All right. All right. Well, that is something that we will be discussing. I know that all of the sidewalks will be assessed, and that there's also, if there's any issue like with paying for that, should it be determined that it is a substantial claim, then there's also the Sidewalk Hardship Committee that will also hear residents who have concerns regarding the cost of those repairs. But that's down the line right now. But as far as the clarity and the focus, I think that, again, I'm sure our DPW director is out there very busy right now, but he would be the one to speak to regarding that. And we will be looking into ways in which we can get the word out a little bit better as far as what the clarity is and the focus is and what the designations all mean. And get the information out as far as the need for any sort of assistance pertaining to that. So we don't have the answers tonight, but I think that our DPW director can help provide some clarity as we look to on our end how we can get the word out and make it clear to residents as to what the expectations are and that there's help available.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, council, I think you know where this is going again. I got 3 minutes. I'm going to enjoy it. For those who weren't here at the 6 p.m. meeting, we conducted a test of the freedom of speech permitted by council in the rules of procedure. Despite profane comments directed directly at council, I'm still here. Wasn't arrested, wasn't even gavelled down. Why? Because those rules are unconstitutional. Tonight, It's progress, right? But tonight on the council agenda, the council purports to amend the rules of procedure to remove profanity, personal, and non-germane comments from the list of prohibited items. Yet, council still intends to govern slanderous speech, obscene comments, and disruptive or disorderly comments, which the city ordinance defines as anything offensive. These content-based restrictions are unconstitutional and do not meet the requirements established by the Sixth Circuit to be content neutral. Let's test this out. For those of you who are sensitive, cover your ears. There's slanderous comments incoming. This council, Councilman Kelly, Councilman Mikulski, Mayor Leaks May, and Eddie Sabatini, I'm directing these directly to you. Slanderous comments. You are a bunch of traitors to the Constitution. That's right. It's not opinion. I'm saying, I'm slandering you. Do something about it. You can't, because your rules are unconstitutional. I maintain a God-given right to engage in constitutionally protected speech, and doubly so when it comes to criticism of public officials in their public duties. Pursuant to the current rules and procedures, this is unacceptable. Yet no one will dare to enforce the rule. Why? Only they can tell you. But I can guess, because, oh wait, it's unconstitutional. If this council chooses to proceed with the consent agenda tonight to vote on the new procedures, any and all council members are being placed on notice right now that this action is unconstitutional and your choice to proceed will be at your own personal risk. That goes doubly for our new member of the council who has yet to violate my constitutional rights. Trust me, you cannot afford the time, effort, and financial costs associated with a federal civil rights lawsuit. Choose wisely.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and Ferndale community. I'm Jenny Beaker. I'm the Executive Director of Downtown Ferndale. I'm here tonight to remind folks that we will be having a public information session tomorrow on Wednesday, May 27th, starting at 5:30 p.m. We'll be at Sidecar Slider Bar in downtown. We're going to begin with some light appetizers and then have a presentation about what the DDA is and does and how we do it for downtown Ferndale. That will start at 6 p.m. and then we'll follow with a little bit more socializing and networking. The board is currently seeking to fill a few vacancies, including a resident of the downtown TIF district that spans from on 9 Mile from Livernois to Bermuda and from Breckenridge to Saratoga on Woodward, and also includes parts of Vester and Troy Street. So the DDA is a great way to get involved with your community. We think of our community being the downtown for plenty of folks who don't have a great downtown like we do in Ferndale. So we just want to encourage folks to come out, join us, learn more about what we do and how to get involved in Ferndale. On a separate note, we are really pleased that Ferndale Pride will also be returning to downtown Ferndale this weekend. The event is open to the public from 12:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Saturday, May 30th. So 9 Mile will be closed down. You can expect a number of folks who, again, are coming to downtown Ferndale to celebrate because you belong here and we make space for everyone. So thanks very much. Have a great evening.
Hello, Council. Dave Cuttrell from 1610 Bowfield. I'll be also talking to the DPW director, but my house is a Girarduzi house, which provided the cement of all the houses in Ferndale beginning around 1940, but really excellent cement in with lots of stones, really solid stuff. And one of the slabs had been replaced because a tree pushed it up. And so we replaced it with one of those other slabs that we now have. It's fine. I actually put sealant on it. I read the instructions, engineering background, but I noticed lots of the new slabs to be broken and cracking. But so for this slab, of course, the tree pushed it up. And the last time the new slab was put in 2002, so they ground it down. And of course, the slab is pushed up by the tree, which is a linden green spruce tree provided and planted by the city. And now it appears they want to replace it because, oh, it's uneven. The tree's pushing the slab up. And now the proposal is, well, we're going to cut the 2 inches down into the roots of the tree, and don't worry, it won't affect the tree won't die this year. And so I'll talk to the DPW and whoever else I need. I don't want the tree dying. I probably would rather have a circle around the roots that will eventually go out on this city-approved tree. And so I just need to raise that up, and I will follow through with the DPW. Thank you.
Hello, Stephanie Pinkwitz, 143 East Camborne. I didn't really prepare anything, but I'm very concerned about the trash in our city and like the increasing levels of trash. So we live at 143 East Camborne, which is right behind New Way Bar. We're the second house in behind the alley. So we have the alley and, you know, the mattress store and New Way Bar, and then right across from us, we have like the Jersey Mike's with the parking lot. In both situations, those dumpsters are always left open. They are never closed. Oftentimes, and I mean, like, I walk my dog 2 times a day, and every time I walk my dog, there are trash bags on the ground next to the dumpster that rodents have rummaged through and made look really nice. For the people who are right behind Jersey Mike's, there's a brick wall there, which is great for them because they're protected from the trash blowing that way, but then it blows across the street into like my yard and all of my neighbor's yard. My one neighbor has a 13-year-old daughter who every day when she gets home from school has a chore where she has to go outside with a trash bag and pick up all of the garbage that blows into their yard from the dumpsters that are left open. I am gonna go just like talk to the owners and be neighborly about it and, you know, discuss with them, but I know that this is not unique to us. We walk all the alleys as we walk our pet. We notice most of the dumpsters are left like this, and the commentary that I see online is that we don't have a lot of, you know, people who come around and sort of enforce these rules, and we have challenges with enforcement when it gets through to the court. So I understand there's a lot of factors to consider there, but I just feel like there has to be something more that we can do as a community. I just, you know, when we walk around and trash just litters our community, it makes it less enjoyable to be around, and it's a rat problem, which I know some of you can empathize with, and it's a danger to our animals as well. I can't tell you how many pieces of food I have pried out of my dog's mouth. So I would love to, you know, come up with some kind of collaborative solution that we can all work on.
Hi, good evening. My name is Chris Gilmer-Hill. I live in Detroit, and I'm a candidate for our State House district here in District 8. I have just 2 quick things I'd like to let folks know about today. So number 1, I know that I've come up here a few times to let folks know about the Michigan Money Out of Politics ballot measure. I just want to update folks that the signature collection for that has wrapped up, and they'll be turning those in just tomorrow on Wednesday. So everyone, please stay tuned. There's a whole process with the Secretary of State that they'll have to go through to actually get certified to be on the ballot. But hopefully very soon we'll have great news out of that, and we'll be able to, you know, start talking to folks about what it'll actually mean to have this on the ballot this year. Number 2, I want to let folks know that we're having a Ferndale meet and greet for my campaign. Councilmember Eddie Sabatini and Sarah will be hosting it. It'll be this coming Saturday on the 30th at noon. So please come see me if you'd like more details about that, or you could go to my website, chrisgilmerhill.com, where we'll have a link to that, or if you go to mobilize.com/chrisgilmerhill, that'll also pull up the information. But yeah, I hope to see folks there, and I hope to get to chat about what I want to do both for Ferndale and for folks across our state. So thank you. Have a nice day.
Hi, Dennis Augustin, 1550 Spencer. What's happened with our code enforcement? Why aren't they coming around and checking out these places and that, you know, I mean, granted, they come and they check building sites out for, you know, proper building, tradesmen doing their job right. But what about, you know, like that lady talked about the trash in the alley and all that stuff? What is Ferndale paying code enforcement for? I mean, what are the taxpayers paying code enforcement for? Okay, we're all taxpayers. If we have if we own homes and property, then we're all taxpayers. Where are they? Why aren't they doing something? Why aren't they writing people up? Okay, and a lot more of what I'm seeing now is a lot of these landscaping companies, they're not cleaning up after they get done mowing the yard. That slippery grass is sitting out there on the street. You know, I remember coming in here years ago, and I had to actually report a downed tree across the sidewalk right over by Webster Elementary. And it wasn't until I reported it here at City Council that we finally got that Ferndale code enforcement to come by and do something about it the next day. Because I walked by there, because I walk a lot in the evenings, and I would walk by there in the afternoon or even in the morning, and I'd see Ferndale cars driving right on by this tree, and those kids and their moms walking out onto the street just so they could get their kids to the school. And that. And it took a complaint from me to come to City Council before they did anything about that fallen tree out of this guy's yard. So my question is what's code enforcement doing about these trash that's been laying in these businesses or blowing out in the dumpsters from these businesses and that? Why should we have to pay for it? Why should we have to put up with that? I did that one time when I used to live in the other part of Ferndale with White Castle. Okay? We had a problem with White Castle. It ain't the taxpayer who should be going out there and cleaning up. It should be that business. But when you see a White Castle on that, you know, holder for the burger or something like that, then you know where it's at. Then you know who it is. Now, granted, it was probably the people who got their order, threw it out the window and stuff like that. But still, you know, we have to pay for it. And I just wonder, where's our code enforcement at? And, you know, I mean, granted, Ferndale's got, you know, a great city going here, hell of a credit rating, but I'll tell you what, we don't need that garbage laying around out there. And like that lady said, her dog was picking it up. You know, we don't need that.
Thank you. All right. Any more for call to audience? Okay. Closing call to audience at 7:47. And now we're moving on to a public hearing. Let's see. The public hearing, we're opening public hearing at 7:47 PM, and I'd like a motion to open it up at that time.
Moved to open the public meeting at 7:47 PM.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so I'm just seeing how we want to do this. Do we want to have the presentation first and then open it up for the public to speak if they want to speak? We can go either way. You're up there, you can go ahead and speak, and then I'll open it up to the public if they have any questions.
Whatever your preference is.
Go ahead.
All right, so this is the sidewalk replacement program. I have one slideshow. I'll kind of stop, break in the middle, and then get into the public hearing bid award recommendation. The first part of this public hearing is for the Special Assessment District 2025-2026. So the purpose of the public hearing is to establish biennial sidewalk replacement program, the special assessment district covering the scope within that district. The districts are based on inspection, replacement process. We have 10 districts total. We do 2 every other year, so in the even years, that's a 10-year maintenance cycle for every sidewalk within the city. These districts were last completed in 2013, 2014. At the time, we were doing one every year, but we actually combined it because it made a little bit more sense for economy of scale. It was less labor that was dedicated to that every year, and now we do them 2 at a time, even years. DPW inspects and identifies the sidewalk deficiencies on every property within the city. Project manager starts the process, the highway team gets ahead of him, and then the project manager follows them, and he does every single one to ensure consistency across the entire district. Resident concerns are reviewed in the field by DPW admin. We have received calls already. Our front desk schedules an appointment with Jeff. Jeff meets on site, goes over it with residents. We send out an initial letter with the front desk phone number, the project manager's phone number, my phone number, and we have been in the process of fielding those calls. For public comments today, I set up 4 meetings on Thursday, and I will meet with those residents and go over the inspections and what we've tagged those. And we'll talk about a lot of these specifics later on in the bid recommendation, but if any questions about anything come up, for example, what a stub or crack, drainage, holes, pitting, scaling, slope, any of those things are, feel free to just jump in. But you can see in this picture that this is marked a B, and that tells me that is a cracked sidewalk. You can see that middle sidewalk is cracked in 3 places. That is something that not only is cracked, but also has some pitting on the sides of it. But when we're in there and we see a sidewalk that's cracked like this, it's not going to be better in 10 years. It's only going to get worse, so that would get replaced, and that's why it's marked with a B. So the public hearing today establishes a special assessment district, and the bid award follows later again on the regular agenda. So the program scope. We inspected in these 2 districts 2,176 properties total. That's approximately 22% of city parcels. 780 of those properties have sidewalk deficiencies, and that's approximately 36 of the inspected properties. The costs, and these are based on low bid unit pricing. We'll get into that a little bit during the bid recommendation, how the as bid and the authorized cost works, but the estimated project total for all of that work is $339,615 based on the low bid unit prices. The average cost per assessed property is $435, and then a typical 4-inch residential sidewalk flag, which is how everyone kind of visualizes it, so a 5x5 flag. Total cost for replacement on that one flag is $208.25. 4-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch pricing was actually, for the 4 and the 6 was better than 2024, which was unexpected. So we do get very competitive bids for this. We'll talk a little bit more in depth on that as well, but I'll just say there's roughly 28,000 square feet, which equates to about 1,145 flags of 4-inch included in this, 5,300 square foot of 6-inch flags, so it's 212 flags. Those are residential. The reason there's 6 rather than 4 is because those are in residential driveways. So you've got cars and vehicles moving over them. The extra 2 inches protects them against that damage. And then an 8-inch sidewalk, which we only have 1 flag, is in a commercial property. So commercials get 8-inch bore. So the total sidewalk program looks like about 34,000 square feet, which is equivalent to 1,358 flags. There are 104 sidewalks that conflict with trees, in which we've marked for tree roots. And then horizontal saw cutting is 335 locations, and I'll talk a little bit more in depth about when we can do horizontal saw cutting versus a full replacement. So the sidewalk context. DPW performs, again, all of these sidewalk inspections. I cannot say that enough. We do these internally. The civil engineer gets involved to help with inspections once the process starts. But before all these numbers go out to bid, we do the inspections ourselves. So when a resident has questions, they don't need to go through a few different people to get an answer. They come to us. We can go out, meet on site, and go over what we see. Sidewalk flags are reviewed for defects and non-compliant conditions. Common issues include, again, cracking, stubbers, holes, pitting, slope, drainage, and scaling. And at the end of the bid recommendation, or I can breeze to it now, I can show you exactly what we measure for each one of those things. Smaller eligible trip hazards may be horizontally saw cut instead of replaced. Again, that's included on that last slide. The city uses DPW inspection results to establish the scope for the special assessment district. And then of the total that need work, about 41% are cracked, 26 are stubbers. And a stubber, just to quickly explain that, is a 2-inch or a half-inch or more separation between two adjacent sidewalk flags. Yes. And then holes, pitting, we'll talk about those as well, but that's 17. It's really the bulk of the sidewalk flags are cracked and stubbers. So the program timeline, we'll talk about this again a little bit more as well, but the bids are available, bid opening. This is a very time-consuming, rigorous process. There's a lot of, there's 2 public hearings. There's public hearing notices need to be published in print for 2 weeks prior to the meeting. So we mailed out resident letters April 29th, and that should actually say May 12th and May 19th, 2026. Public notice, public hearing notice was published. May 26th, now public hearing, council consideration. Late May, early June, we provide notice of bid award, bonds, insurance, contract documents, city attorney reviews. June, contract execution, notice to proceed. Later in June, we'll have a pre-construction conference. Mid-June, the first thing they start is horizontal saw cutting. And then later in June, towards the beginning of July, we do the construction. And then substantial completion takes place end of July, beginning of August. We try to target that so that way everything's done prior to school starting back up. So yeah, August 14th is our target for final construction. Late August, early September. At that point, final amounts are mailed to residents, so they get one more letter with the actual field verified measurements following the construction completion. Council will approve the final roll end of September, early October, and then the final roll must be sent to finance in order for that to be included in the winter tax bill. I think their deadline is October 12th or 15th to get all of that in the system. And then the last thing we'll talk about for the public hearing is the map. 25 and 26 are the 2 current sidewalk districts that make up Special Assessment District 2025-2026. And then the bid recommendation, again, will follow the regular agenda. I'm happy to answer questions now. Happy to answer questions later when the bid recommendation comes up as well.
Now's the opportunity for anyone who'd like to speak on what you've heard regarding the sidewalks. Or if you've
Apologies, I'm feeling chatty tonight. I'm just wondering if there was any consideration about how the bill could be paid. So I think if I'm understanding it, it's applied directly to your winter tax bill. Yeah, just for those of us like in escrow who pay mortgages, right? They look at your bill to determine what your next year's bill, and if you've ever worked with them, it's very difficult to convince them that next year's bill won't also be an additional $600. So if there is an option to write a separate check to the city, that would be much appreciated.
I don't know if I should just jump in between people, but there probably is a way to do that. I don't want to speak for finance. That was, I think, something that we struggled to do last time. Again, I'm not sure if that was just an issue with finance.
Yeah, I can say, because I'm allowed to assign work to people, that is something that we can actually find a way to accommodate. It would be easy enough for us when we send out the final notice to give a due-by date, and if it's not paid before that date, then we roll to tax.
Yeah, and that final notice does come with a letter that is the final specified dollar amount, so that explains some some other things that aren't clear, like exactly how to apply for hardship, who qualifies, several other things. So there's no reason that we couldn't include that information as long as that's something that we can do.
Still open for additional public comment? Seeing none, then I am going to close the public hearing at 7:59 PM. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Any second?
Oh, support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so now I'm opening it up for council discussion to approve the resolution to proceed with the 2025-2026 sidewalk replacement program and authorize the city clerk to sign the resolution as submitted by the Director of Public Works for discussion. Do we have any comments prior to a roll call?
Mayor, you're asking for a motion to
Yeah.
discuss?
Yes.
And you read it all, so moved.
Yes.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wait, I'm like, wait a minute, where are we at?
I think now you have a motion, now you
Now
can
we need to
discuss the
discuss.
motion.
It's open for discussion. Okay, all right. If there's any discussion needed.
Through the chair, there's always discussion from me on sidewalks. Jim, you noted 104 trees and tree roots that were going to be impacted by the sidewalk replacement program. Can you talk a little bit more about what our options are around that? Are there ways to preserve the tree root system underneath the trees, underneath the drip line of these street trees?
Yeah, I mean, there's really a couple options. We're thinking about internally, we have about 20 city trees that we're tossing around the idea. We're talking internally right now at DPW on how many we can do, but we're talking about getting those demoed and then putting a permeable paver over that. So it's like concrete, it's permeable, so water can get into it. It does less damage to the trees. We're not exactly sure how well it's going to hold up over time, but I think that we have the capacity internally to do 20, potentially 30 of those that we mark that could have a significant impact on the tree. That's not something we've done in the past. In the past, what we do is we demo it. We always tell the contractor not to grind too much. They don't like to grind more than they have to because it's just extra time spent. But that does mean that sidewalk could potentially shift sooner than would we damage the tree by grinding the roots all the way down to nothing, if that makes sense. We do always try to make sure that the contractor doesn't do that. And then, yeah, this year we're talking about internally tackling 20 to 30 of those ourselves to see if that would be a better option.
How do you ensure that the contractor doesn't do that? Like, is it a conversation? Is it something where you go onto the site with them?
Yes, we talk to them, and they're usually more than happy to comply with that because it's less work for them. It takes them less time. They can do it faster. They're not spending time having someone, after they've demoed the flags, go through and grind and spend time doing that. So if we told them, just demo it, leave the roots in place, pour over them, they would be more than happy to do that. And more often than not, if you're not sitting there watching, that is what happens because it takes less time. And that is something that we don't mind and we do discuss, and we'll discuss with them during the project meeting.
So for any resident that might have a street tree that would be impacted by this program, is that something that they can notify DPW that they would prefer that no root grinding happens on that flag?
Yeah, they could, but our arborist and our forestry team have gone through and specifically looked at conflicts in those two districts. And they have marked, again, 20 to 30 trees on the list that are close enough to where we think that they should be protected with measures outside of the regular don't grind through the roots. But yes, they should call our front desk if they have any questions, if they have any concerns, and if they would want to double check and ensure that their tree is on that list, yes.
Okay. different track. Holes and pitting equated to be about 17% of all of the replacements. Is it possible for our residents to basically clean the slab, remove any loose debris, and apply like a polymer modified concrete patching compound to seal those holes? Would that be adequate to avoid having to replace pitted surfaces?
That's not something that we typically permit, just because we don't guarantee that that'll last. And we're really thinking long-term, we want to make sure that anything that we leave now is not going to be a trip hazard 10 years from now. That would be something I would be happy to look into and deal with as a case-by-case basis and talk to residents.
So
Are
if
there
they-
people that have reached out with that?
Yeah, so if a resident had pitting and they were interested in potentially doing that, I would direct them to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And for the drainage, I know that only accounted for 4%. When did we assess these? Was it?
So, a lot of times what happens early in the spring, so when we find something with slope, it gets marked as slope. When we mark something that looks like it could present an issue for drainage, we wait until a spring rain, and then we go through and actually see that there's a drainage issue. And then drainage issues are obviously important in the spring, just because you don't want water sitting on it, but they're more important in the winter because you don't want ice sitting on it.
Through the chair, a couple of questions that arose from Mayor Pro Tem Mikulski's questions. The trees, if you have a tree with the root system, one of the residents, Dave, I believe, asked about building around the root system. Is that an option for us? Or if the residents want to do it themselves, they can?
So it is, and we do have several instances of that, and that's possible. That's usually more likely to happen when a private tree is close to the sidewalk, because it's easy for us to go around it through the public right-of-way, but a lot of times the problem is that in order to get around a tree in that way that's sitting in the public right-of-way, you would have to go through someone's private property. And that just opens up some difficulties because that person's not always cooperative. Their opinion may be just remove the tree. So again, that's usually a case by case, and it usually happens more when there is an alternative route for a sidewalk through the public right of way that doesn't get into the private property line.
Thank you. And so similar to the other recommendation, if a resident has a tree like that, potentially reach out to you to see what that option might be, or if it's
And
viable.
we would be happy to meet with them.
Okay.
Go over their property on site and see what we can do.
Thank you. Notices go out. What is the timeframe or procedure for residents who, a lot of them spoke today at public comment about wanting to do the work themselves? What is that process like? How long do they have to kind of let you guys know they're going to?
Yeah, I think on the council agenda item, and I meant to print it out, the letter that goes out does give them a timeline.
Okay.
I want to say it's that they need to schedule it 30 days in advance of our construction coming through.
Okay.
But I will follow up via email with the specific timeline for that.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Jim. In the presentation, I'm sorry, I forget the page, but it was the one with the I think it was a bee that was spray painted. And I was just curious, it referred to, I think it was a crack,
Yes.
but the crack was on the flag adjacent to it. Is that, did I remember?
Yeah,
that?
so you just can't see the other flag. I think these are actually in front of the Department of Public Works. If you could see the rest of the flag there's 4 feet missing, and then there's a crack on the other side where the picture stops.
Okay, and then in the flag in the middle that we can see all of, is that also a bee on it?
That is a bee.
It is,
Yes.
okay,
Yep.
okay. All right, thank you for clarifying that.
No problem.
The 4-inch the section of the well, first of all, is there a database where like we can see all of the different flags that have been identified that require which kind of work?
There is not, but I believe in the agenda packet for the bid recommendation and the public assessment, there is a property by Sidwell, and then I think that says how many flags by property are included, and you can, that's all publicly available. I'll make sure that it is, but I believe that that's all included in the council packet by address.
Okay, great, something we could share with the residents, yeah, I think that would be of interest, great, thank you. Okay, so then the breakdown that you shared, of the 4-inch section, 4-inch flags, I think that was the largest amount that needed replacement. Is any of that in this first zone commercial properties, or is this all residential in the first 2025, 2026?
No, there are commercial properties in there.
Okay.
So this includes parts of Woodward. Those parts don't get included because Woodward will eventually be its own sidewalk program similar to 9 Mile. But you can see all of those streets perpendicular to Woodward. There are sidewalk flags on all of those businesses. This does include Livernois from 8 Mile to 9, so there's some commercial properties there. And commercial properties are treated similar to residential when we do inspections. And then we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but I'll show the percent that are under a certain dollar amount, and then the outliers that are higher are typically commercial properties just because they have a much larger frontage, which means more sidewalk.
Nice, thank you. I mean, I think it is. I'm having trouble visualizing it. Is Withington included in that district?
Withington is not. It stops at 9 Mile this year. That's the boundary. Withington was done, I actually live in that section, and I should remember this. I think it was 2020 or 2019.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
So I was looking at the notification here, and it indicates that the public hearing, well, it's happening tonight, which it is, but it also says if you must submit a letter to the city clerk if you contest your replacement requirements or communicate about the program by Wednesday, May 20th. Well, you've had people speak to you about that tonight. So is there maybe a different timeline that we can incorporate? Because you're probably going to have more people that want to inquire about this.
Yeah, we'll continue to talk to people up until the project, until construction actually starts.
So they don't need to be dismayed by this May 20th deadline. They can still reach out to you.
We'll continue to talk to them, yep.
All right. Okay. Anything else before we vote on the program? Roll call, please.
Kelly,
Yes.
Sabatini,
Yes.
Mikulski,
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes. So the motion to approve the resolution to proceed with the 2025-2026 sidewalk replacement program and authorize the city clerk to sign the resolution as submitted by the Director of Public Works has passed 4-0 in favor. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Regarding resolutions tonight, you all want to read them after the consent agenda? Regarding resolutions tonight, do you?
No preference, Madam Mayor.
Going on to the consent agenda, approval of the May 7th, 2026 and May 11th, 2026 meeting minutes. 7B, approval of the resolution to recognize June 26th as Gay Pride Month and display the rainbow flag outside of Ferndale City Hall. 7C, approval of the resolution to participate in the 3M DuPont National PFAS settlement. 7D, adoption of the resolution to support of State Revenue Sharing Trust Fund, a State Revenue Sharing Trust Fund. 7E, adoption of the resolution recognizing the 95th anniversary of the Ferndale Garden Club. 7F, approval of the amendment to council rules of procedures. 7G, approval of the summer 2026 special assessments. 7H, adoption of ordinances to extend sunset provision for the Citizens Police Advisory and Review Board. 7I, approval of the special event permit for Harvest Festival on Livernois to be held on Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. 7J, approval of the 2026 Rockin' Live Entertainment Performance Agreement for August 14th through the 15th, 2026. 7K, approval of the 2026 Ferndale Dream Cruise sponsorship agreement with Campbell Marketing and Communications. 7L, approval to purchase replacement 911 system from Carbine, Inc. per 2016 PSAP agreement in the amount of $290,730.59 over 5 years. 7M, approval of the service contract with Civic Plus for FOIA workflow platform in the amount of $10,195.67. 7N, approval to purchase a 2026 Dodge Durango for the DEA Task Force Officer in the amount of $38,490.25. 7O, approval of the renewal quote for property and liability insurance from MMRMA in the amount of $850,668. 7P, approval of glass cleaning services at city facilities by Prestissimo Window Cleaning Company in the amount not to exceed $20,000. 7Q, approval of the Michigan Municipal League membership renewal in the amount of $11,097. 7R, approval of purchase of self-propelled road saw from Detroit Diamond Drilling in the amount of $6,272. 7S, approval of repairs by Speed Tech Equipments to Withington Parking Lot Trash Compactor in the amount of $9,942.02. 7T, approval of quote from Canfield Equipment Service, Inc. for outfitting a fire command vehicle in the amount not to exceed $18,500. 7U, approval of contract with J.H. Hart Urban Forestry for as-needed public tree maintenance services in the amount not to exceed $109,606.14. 7V, approval of NVR replacement projects by Motor City Electric Technologies, Inc. in the amount of $15,165. And 7W, approval of bills and payroll as submitted by the Finance Director and subject to review by the Council Finance Committee. All right. Need a motion for the consent.
Move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So now we're moving on to our regular agenda item 8A. And that agenda item is, we will need a motion to approve the bid award for IT managed services to Macro Connect for a first-year annual amount of $478,524 and authorize the city manager to execute a 3-year contract. We'll need a motion for discussion.
Move to approve the bid award for IT managed services to Macro Connect for a first-year annual amount of $478,524 and authorize the city manager to execute a 3-year contract.
Support.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. We're here to talk about our IT managed services contract. So just quick overview about our IT environment. IT is just a way of life anymore, especially running a community as always changing, ever moving like Ferndale. But our environment has a lot going on, about 19 servers, 3 of them physical, 16 different virtual. We have approximately 200 different users using 200 different workstations. our phone system, which is a VoIP, a voice over internet protocol, over 100 different phones and headsets. We have 7 different printers, approximately 14 different mission-critical software and applications that are used and serviced on pretty much a daily basis. Our access control and site security, some of that is the network video recording that you guys actually just approved some upgrades to that system right now. And above all, we take care of the digital security for all of that. Since 2022, the city has partnered with Macro Connect for our IT managed services. This has included 2 embedded technicians. These technicians on a daily basis could be running to Fire Station 1 to deal with connectivity issues to make sure that services get out on time as needed. They could be here at City Hall working through a user issue, or they could even be at DPW dealing with some mission critical water issues. It also includes our virtual chief innovation officer, our VCIO, who handles long-term planning, and they meet with the city manager and myself on a twice monthly basis to identify any gaps in our IT services, any issues that are coming up, and also to identify some projects that we might not be aware of that can help us save funding in the future, as Mike, our VCIO, showed you guys 2 weeks ago. And with the network that we have at Macro Connect, we have access to escalation services. So if our IT techs can't handle an issue in-house, they're able to escalate to techs with more experience, more education, more specific knowledge in some of the issues. And also, they have on-staff project managers that we can bring in on an as-needed basis for different projects. And we're at kind of a critical point right now with our IT infrastructure. We've got a lot going on. Currently, a couple of the projects we're looking at is the BSNA cloud transition, which we are underway, the continued access control rollout, a software audit, making sure that all the programs and applications we're using are the best, most efficient, best use of our money. Network upgrades at DPW, PD server updates, the City Hall server upgrade. We're also finishing the Martin Road Park, and there's some IT needs there that they're helping build out. And all of this, again, underscores the importance of digital security. A breach of digital security is one of the largest risks that we have to deal with here in the city. And a lot of that comes as a government entity. Our residents can't really get some of the services we provide elsewhere. They put their trust in us, and we need to make sure we're enhancing the public trust by making sure that their data is safe. And a single breach of data can cost the city over $1 million. I just heard about this. We just did the MMRMA renewal, and I was meeting with our agents for that, and they were mentioning that a recent data breach cost a city in Michigan, they didn't say who, but over $900,000 just for that. And because they weren't covered for it, they were out that money. So it's one of those things that we are always on the lookout for. But as I said, we've been with Macro since January 2022. It was a 3-year contract to start. It expired as we were going through the Headley elections, and we weren't sure what kind of funding we were going to be able to have moving forward. So Macro Connect partnered with us to do 2 different extensions during that time. And during the time we've looked at, the city manager evaluated the potential of bringing the service in-house. She estimated we would need 3 different technicians at a fully burdened estimated cost of about $82,000. 1 director to handle the oversight of the department, estimated again fully burdened cost about $145,000. Total staffing costs, just staffing alone, was estimated at $391,000 a year. The current annual cost to Macro right now is $393,708. So the savings there was very minimal, and that was just on the personnel side. That didn't include workstations. That didn't include any of the other additional costs that go into having a department. And in that case, the city would be solely responsible for filling any vacancies, which would ultimately occur especially in the IT field, we see a lot of movement. But we would be responsible for filling those vacancies, putting an additional burden on the HR department, and any delay in filling those positions would impact productivity and, again, put us at risk. So we've also kind of looked at how much, because with that VCIO, we also looked at potentially just contracting for those embedded technicians and maybe bringing on that project management department head level position. In the last 3 years, we've been averaging about $69,000 for VCIO and project management services compared to the overall estimate of $145,000 for a department head to handle that. So all that said, we put out an RFP for managed IT services in April of this year. In total, we did receive about 20 responses, which is significant because many of these proposals were pretty long. Our initial screening, we looked at firms that did not propose to provide on-site support. That was a big deal. That was actually a minimum qualification, so they were pretty easy to eliminate. We also did not look at the firms that didn't provide any relevant government experience. Like I said, because we're government, it's important that we're able to continue to have public trust that their data is going to be safe. We also have many different programs and applications that aren't used in the private sector. The private sector doesn't use BSNA. The private sector isn't using CGIS for police services. So that was the main reason we were looking specifically for government experience. At the end, we had 5 remaining firms to look through. And part of the evaluation was the total cost of the contract over the life of the contract, as well as specifically looking, what the cost of disruption would be. We kind of defined the cost of disruption as 4 months of transition, where we'd have 2 IT contractors under contract at the same time, as well as some minimal staff time, about $7,000. We were expecting, anywhere between 70 and 120 hours of staff time to help really get a transition going. At the end of it, using that cost of disruption and the setup fees that any of them proposed, the 3-year cost of the contracts, Macro actually was the lowest cost, which was right there at $1.47 million over the 3 years. And even if we went at lightning speed and only had a 2-month transition, which is probably quite unlikely, we would still see only one of those 5 with a lower cost over the life of the contract. So it was a really good thing that we did go out to bid. It helped make sure that we're, being good stewards of taxpayer funding on this. It's a very expensive program, but again, it's expensive for a reason. There's 24/7 monitoring of this data. There's continuous cybersecurity training. So it's really important that we make sure we're getting good quality as well as efficiency in the service. So with that, we're looking for a 3-year contract with Macro Connect, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
No, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, through the chair, I'll kick us off. What's the anticipated annual increase after year 3?
After year 3?
Yes.
After year 3, we'd need to either negotiate an extension or go out to bid again.
Okay.
Which there's options for extension. I think it was, I don't have the number offhand. I don't want to outright say it, but it was, I think, about 3% potential. Because I think that's actually what each increase year over year is anyway.
Was there an independent assessment of the city's IT architecture and cybersecurity posture, or was staff heavily relying on our vendor's recommendations?
Staff's been relying on the vendor for their recommendations on how we handle our cybersecurity. They do an annual disaster recovery scenario. They're doing quarterly phishing simulations. But we didn't have an outside independent agency audit our cybersecurity.
Say that last part again, we didn't have a,
We didn't have like a third party come in and do an audit of our,
Okay.
you know, with the exception of course, Macro, but they're, you know, they're an invested party. But many of the other firms that submitted proposals submitted similar security protocols as well. Some of them actually submitted some with higher levels at higher cost.
Do we have that handy?
I can get it out to you guys.
The reason I'm asking is because, again, this is a big pot of money. We all understand that IT services are critical. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here by saying that. I just struggle personally with having an incumbent vendor do an assessment and basically say, here's the scope of what we should be signing off on, and then everybody else has to follow that scope. It strikes me as creating a form of vendor lock-in, and it makes me uncomfortable. Did we have any consideration into maybe having an overall assessment through a third party? Do we know what kind of costs we would incur with something like that?
I don't have any context for the costs that it would equate to in terms of a third-party assessment of our technology architecture, if that's what you're, or our cybersecurity systems, no.
Yeah, and the RFP wasn't specifically written with Macro's involvement. The RFP was written based off almost the exact same RFP we put out now 4 years ago. So it wasn't like they wrote the RFP for themselves, if that's kind of what you're looking at.
I mean, that's in part what I'm looking at. I'm also, again, looking at everything that they cover. For instance, could you go back a couple slides where it was talking about some of the things that are coming up, like the access control rollout and a full software audit? We've been talking about a software audit for years, and I still don't feel like we have made any progress on that, so it's nice to see it in writing here. I'm just feeling weird that we haven't done it yet when we are still with this company and we are proposing moving forward with this company for another 3 years. The access control rollout, I was under the impression that that was a DPW activity and that DPW put the access panels on the restrooms and things like the dog park. Is that inaccurate?
The access control is a pretty complex project that also includes the compactors, the actual network that assigns the permissions to grant the access. It's a lot more than just installing the actual hardware. It's a lot going into the back end, and not only is DPW involved, but the electrician team that we tend to use, Motor City Electric, they're involved, and then IT as well. And it also involves training the DDA staff, DPW staff, parks, on how to program the system, how to grant access to users.
And is that the portion that goes through our IT services? Because I'm hearing install from DPW and an outside
MCI,
electric.
or MCE, yes.
Right. So they do the training on this access rollout.
Yes, they've been working on the training. They've been working on any of the connectivity issues that happen. The technicians are going to be the ones who deal with it.
Through the chair, can I add on to that? So a follow-up. So we signed the contract, 3-year contract. Is it worked into there, like the software audit is one of the multiple projects that will be completed by year 1, year 2, year 3? Or is that not covered in
I mean, that's
in the agreement.
definitely something we can stress to them.
Yeah, I think what may be useful is in the conversations that James and I have with our IT contractor now, they have a project management platform that they use to track all of these. So in their scheduling system, they have Q1, 2027, this is our target goal. We'd be happy to produce something that kind of shows what that looks like for the year or two ahead. But if we want to identify specific scopes of work, I think this is a good starting point, and they're all items that have already been discussed at those bi-monthly meetings.
Can you just give me a little bit of insight into like the evaluation scoring methodology between the 5 final firms? I know we saw the cost associated, but what else were we looking at?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it came down to cost. Cost, knowledge of the system. That was really what we were evaluating based off of.
So to James's point, these are the 5 remaining after that preliminary screening regarding their ability to provide on-site staff and their prior experience with clients of a similar type, so government relevant experience. At that point, once filtered through those other criteria, the 5 remaining, the last criteria to consider was cost.
Through the chair, I think to cost. We just approved the 911 system because we're part of a consortium with Oakland County, and what it allows essentially is if a service sharing, if our system goes down in Ferndale, Royal Oak can field our emergency calls and make sure help is directed to where it needs to go, if I understand it correctly. Is there something with IT services that we could do some intergovernmental sharing to, 1, lower cost burden, 2, fill any potential service gaps? I don't know if it's a data breach. I don't know enough about IT to ask the right questions, but I think you get what I'm going towards.
Sure. So we are part of a consortium for purchasing. We usually use the government consortium to purchase the workstations, the computers. As far as broader intergovernmental, I mean, yeah, I suppose at some point it could be possible that there could be some kind of broader consortium of IT services. I mean, right now, the reason why we have 2 technicians is that's what is appropriate for the level of work we have, right? If we were to grow the program, we'd probably need some additional staff on board. But also, not only does like the 911 system have offsite backup, our data is backed up offsite as well. So there is some redundancy in the case of a data breach and we have to shut everything down. We're able to utilize that backup, and that's part of what they do with the disaster recovery on a yearly basis that all of the firms did propose as well.
Speak a little bit more on the data breach that the one city had that cost them all that money. Is it because they had no cybersecurity or they were not insured in the event of a data breach? I didn't understand that one.
It's so not knowing all of the specifics of it, right? It sounds like a phishing attempt that was successful. And I think there was an issue with the way their insurance was set up. They didn't have maybe the cybersecurity rider in there as well, and so they were liable. But again, it goes back to why we do a lot of the training, the quarterly phishing experiences, and all that, for sure.
And we do have an insurance rider in the event of a data breach?
Yeah.
Okay.
So who internally is capable of independently evaluating the technical recommendations made by MacroConnect?
The technical recommendations that MacroConnect makes filter through both James and I. We are the primary points of contact for this contract. If they propose something that we don't feel is in line with the city's expectation or feasible within our budgetary constraints, we will, recommend that they consider an alternative or defer that recommendation until a future time. Anything that makes it through our evaluation then goes to council because it's going to be a separate project.
So Colleen, would you both then be also in charge of succession planning for like critical system knowledge so that we can, what I'm looking for really is an opportunity to say, yes, we know the scope of these things. Yes, we understand what we need as a city in the event that we decide to part ways with MacroConnect after 3 years. I'm just looking for a path where I don't feel like we're boxed in with them after the end of this 3-year contract.
Sure. Yeah, I think the RFP process for us really helped highlight that. It forced us to look holistically at our entire system in one big picture view and determine, what our architecture currently looks like, whether those same needs still exist, and really come to the conclusion of being clear about what we're asking for. So I think the groundwork is there for that work, and the system, the foundation exists. In terms of diving a little deeper, I view that as maybe changes to the current process about how we handle those bi-monthly meetings and the documentation that's associated with them, making sure that we have that internally and not just on their project management platform.
And then one final follow-up on all of this. If we grow or if we add a new facility, which, knock on wood, hopefully we do, how scalable is this agreement and what triggers any additional charges?
The actual project of building out the IT for that potential building, that would be a separate project. And they'd give us a proposal that we bring to you guys.
Yeah, the cost for services associated with this contract is more about the number of desks or units or staff, so to speak, because it's largely driven by that help desk support system. So you're really only going to see a dramatic shift if we were to suddenly increase or decrease the total number of staff we have.
Yeah, and to that point, if we were to do the community center, we wouldn't be so much increasing staff to a scalable level that would create an issue because we would be not running Incubizo anymore, right? So that staff would now have a different home, which currently for the Incubizo, for our network, because, right, again, cybersecurity, we don't want to run on Incubizos. We have our own router over there, our own VPN, all of that set up. So it would be pretty scalable in that circumstance.
Would it potentially, it could, not just a community center project, but city hall expansion, emergency, police and fire services expansions, new builds, infrastructure costs, infrastructure scaling, which is not tied to head count. Does MacroConnect, or would it be an exclusive deal where they would have to, we're agreeing that they're going to handle any of that new infrastructure build out that's required potentially? Or could we go out for RFP for that part of it and then MacroConnect handles the staffing and maintenance and all else they do?
If we're, let's talk hypothetical. If we're building a completely new facility or renovating a facility, certainly through the RFP process, we always have the option to include the IT systems, like the physical assets that need to be included in that building design, and it can be bid out just the same way, under a general contractor, that work could be assigned to a sub. I'm going to guess in more cases than not, a general contractor bidding is going to ask if the city has an existing contractor just for continuity of operations, at the very least working with who our contractor is. But no, there wouldn't be exclusivity in terms of that relationship.
Yeah, and macro would likely be involved to help with technical advice to what works with the systems we have.
The cost of disruption, if I have it correctly, June 20th is the date that our current or June 30th is the date the current contract expires. What's sort of when does the clock start on the cost of disruption if we don't sign just yet? Like,
Well, the cost of disruption is if we go with another contractor to deal with the transition from, disruption might not be the best word for it, but it's the cost of transition.
Okay, so, at any time, if we decide to transition, that's what
Yes, and if we didn't have a contract in place by June 30th, then we would have a major disruption at that point, because that's when the contract ends, and if we don't have somebody in place. But yeah, that cost of disruption transition, that's assuming 4 months of having 2 IT contractors to make sure the transition is smooth, make sure all of the knowledge is passed over. I think when Macro came on and they did the transition, they actually employed an additional full-time staffer for like 6 months to do the transition over. So that's kind of where I got 4 months maybe.
Thank you.
Through the chair, just out of curiosity, do we happen to know what the portion of the city's overall IT budget is as operational versus infrastructure?
So, looking at IT services, like what's capital projects versus like what's the help desk, or?
Yeah, capital projects, but also just, again, like built environment that we currently have and what we spend on software costs.
We could get you those numbers pretty easy, but I don't have them in front of me.
I think the department, is $1.5 million ish, $1.2 million.
Depends on projects that year, yeah.
But somewhere in that range, and then the contract is, every year about 400,000, going a little higher now, but.
Do we have a opt-out clause, after year 1, if they don't successfully complete the software audit, if that's what we decide we would like to have happen? We do the third-party audit, we can say, okay, thank you, but at this time, we need to. What's the nature of that agreement like, that portion of the agreement?
Yeah, there's termination clauses in the contract.
And you're comfortable with them? You think they give us flexibility?
Yeah, especially for something like cause.
Yeah, great, yeah.
Did you say that you were going to get something to us regarding, I think there are a lot of departments and infrastructure here within the city that utilizes IT, like, I think to know exactly what all of those are, what's coming to mind is, how's the water park operated? It's operated by IT, correct?
A little bit, but
Little
a
bit?
lot of it is very mechanical.
A lot of it's mechanical? Okay. Just to kind of know everything that's kind of utilized, just down to even the most minuscule thing, I think would be important to know.
We could actually even send out the RFP that went out that detailed departments and IT needs.
I'd like to see that. I don't know if I don't know if you know of these companies. I don't know of these companies, but I would like to see that RFP if we could. And send it to everyone if they're interested.
For sure.
All right. So I guess now we're going to determine whether or not we want to go with this 3-year contract. You were asking about deadlines and opt-out clauses, so I guess we want to determine if we want to go with this contract right now. That would be the next vote.
Through the chair, would adding amendment to it regarding some of the deadlines and services, major projects, make it more palatable, or?
Through the chair, I feel like I can't just pick an arbitrary date to give them a deadline because I don't know how long it's going to take them to do it. I'm just irritated. I don't want to see software audit come up on a presentation again until we have the software audit done. Personally, I think we had a lot of questions tonight, and there's a portion of me that thinks that if I tabled this and had those questions answered, I might feel a little bit more comfortable. But I don't think it would end up changing who we award the bid to based on the overall cost. I would just urge us, if we do decide to move forward with this, that we start developing a plan to make sure that, again, we aren't locking ourselves into a vendor just because we have always been with that vendor and because they know our business and they are able to set us up with an RFP and the overall scope because they know our business. It just makes me a little queasy seeing those annual increases that we see up on the screen and not really knowing what's going to happen after year 3 and knowing that this is already substantially more than what we had originally signed up with them on. And again, I don't begrudge them their annual increases. Everybody knows that that's part of doing business, but it's a lot of money, and I don't like feeling locked in. That's all.
I guess I'm trying to understand why you feel like we're locked in.
Yeah, because I'm paranoid. That's why.
Okay.
Because I'm paranoid.
All right.
And it feels like, again, since we didn't have a third party do an overall audit of the scope, we're relying on the scope provided by Macro Connect. And I just feel like that's a misstep. That feels wrong.
I will note on the scope of work, that I think that's something that we can easily produce with some timelines. And the VCIO that's assigned to us from Macro Connect is a City of Ferndale resident. He's very, very engaged in what's happening locally and very tied into, what our goals are, what our values are. So I would see no issue with us requesting them to produce a work plan for the scope that was outlined in some of these bullet points.
That would be fabulous.
All right, back to tonight. Vote. A vote, a roll call. Unless there's any more discussion before we go that route.
Sabatini,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Mikulski,
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes. I just grumbled that out, didn't you?
Hide that one, can I?
All right, okay. Thank you. All right, now we are moving on to regular agenda item number 2, or excuse me, 8B. The action is to approve the 2026 Sidewalk Replacement Program bid award to Luigi Ferdinandi and Sons Cement, Inc., in the estimated amount of $339,615, and authorize the DPW director to sign contract documents following contract approval by the city attorney as submitted by the Public Works Director. We'll need a motion for discussion.
Move to approve the 2026 Sidewalk Replacement Program bid award to Luigi Ferdinandi and Sons Cement, Inc., in the estimated amount of $339,615, and authorize the DPW director to sign contract documents following contract approval by the city attorney as submitted by the Public Works Director.
Support.
You're up.
Thank you. One thing I did read that letter. The DIY sidewalk deadline is June 15th. They must have a permit pulled. So if you plan to do it yourself, you have to pull a permit. through CD or make arrangements with DPW to do that work. And then we'll send someone over. We'll look at the work that you're proposing to be done, and then we'll approve that or deny it, and it'll get done through the program. So the first thing we'll start with is bid award and authorization. We had 7 bids. The low bidder was Luigi Ferdinandi and Son Cement, Inc. They were the low bidder in 2024. The low bid was $237,000, $976. Engineer's opinion of cost was $281,040. And then the high bid is $353,140. So it was a pretty competitive process. We saw a disparity of about $120,000 between the low and the high. And the low in this case is a good, reputable firm that does good work. The recommended authorization not to exceed $339,000. You're probably saying, why is the low bid different from that number? And the next slide will go into that. So work by type, 4-inch sidewalk is $833 per square foot, which comes to a price of $208.25 based on a hypothetical 5x5 25 square foot flag. And then in 2024, again, the price for that same work was $225. 6-inch sidewalks $933, 8-inch sidewalks $17. Horizontal saw cutting is $152.81, and then tree roots here are $1 per tree. Bid versus authorization. And I would say as well that the contractor is familiar with how we approach tree roots, so they put a pretty low number because they wanted to be competitive, they wanted to work in the city, and they know that we're not going to ask them to spend extra time grinding tree roots. So bid versus authorization. The low bid here establishes a contractor and unit prices. There is always some disparity. In this case, the low bid amount is $237. The updated inspected estimate brings using those unit costs to $330,000. So there's a $100,000 difference. That's a 42.7% difference. That's abnormally high. We usually try to be closer to 15, 20%. In 2024, there was a $40,000 difference. There was a lower cost for that total program, so we're closer to 15%, and that's typically what we strive for. I showed the timeline. The key to this program is meeting deadlines, and part of the need to meet that first deadline to get everything out to bid means that we typically have 60 to 75% of the 2 districts fully inspected, and then we project numbers based on the 3 quarters that we have in the bank for that remaining 1 quarter. In this case, the quarter that we had left was not representative of the whole as we expected it to be. We had some staffing issues. We weren't quite where we wanted to be with total inspections done. So this goes out to bid. We have unit costs that comes back, and then by the time those unit costs, and this is typical to the program, by the time those unit costs come back, we have actual numbers based on 100% inspection of the 2 districts. Then we apply those unit costs to get the total budget for the program. And this program budget is dependent. We usually book about $250,000 to $275,000 for it, knowing that we try to consistently and apply the same standard to every single sidewalk. If there are more sidewalks that require work, the budget is just going to be a little bit higher, and thus the sidewalk assessment district number will be a little bit higher. To be clear, the difference here is not a contingency, and final payment is based on actual field measurements. So once we're done with the work gets inspected, and then we do a final inspection and we measure every single flag. It could be that the sidewalk in a certain area is 4.5 feet wide as opposed to 5 feet. We guess that it was a 5x5, that's 25 square foot. We'll actually do the measurements, do the math on the final quantities, and then use unit costs to provide that final payment letter to each property by address. So the initial resident cost letters are based on, again, property level inspection quantities that we've kind of projected for the remainder that was not done by the bid. And then if final quantities exceed authorization, staff would return to council. So if we come back and we've done all the work and we find that there are another couple hundred flags, which hasn't happened in the recent past but could potentially happen. People do make mistakes. What we would have to do then has come back to council to ask for additional dollars above the $340,000. So here, the total authorization again is $339,615. The city is responsible for roughly $19,875 of that work. So that's work on sidewalks at city-owned property, usually parking lots, city buildings, and actually that's probably about it. We do some of the crosswalks and the ADA ramps to get across streets as well. Remaining cost is funded through special assessment. This is where we have the range arranged by property. So if you look at that, and I'll go through those numbers next, 75.5% of the properties with deficient sidewalks have a bill under $500. So again, and I mentioned this earlier, the highest cost outliers are typically larger frontages, corner lots, or commercial properties. There aren't a lot this time that have an 8-inch pour, but the 8-inch cost per square foot is always going to be a little bit higher because it's more materials. And then I'll go over the hardship process at the very end as well of this slide. So the assessment range, $1 to $249, there are roughly 45% of the city properties. $250 to $400 are another 30%. So again, that's over 75%, 3/4 of the residential, well, 3/4 of the total properties with a bill fall under that $500 range. Another 18.5 or 500 to 1,000, and then the remaining 1,000 to 2,000 make up roughly 6.2%. The hardship process, and this will have more explanation and give residents more of an understanding in the next letter. So the final letter will include detailed instructions on how the hardship process works. Last year, or in 2024 rather, we used a $500 assessment, household income of $20,000 or less. So those two things combined qualified you for the hardship application. Residential corner side frontage with a cost of over $500 regardless of income qualified for the hardship application. And then the hardship process ensures an additional time to pay at 5% interest for anyone that successfully applies. And the hardship committee process will follow final cost letters, again, mailed in early October. And typically that meeting takes place before the council meeting that approves the final cost for the entire district. So the action requested, again, is to approve and award to Luigi Ferdinandi and Sons not to exceed $339,615 and to authorize the DPW director to sign the contract documents. Thank you, and I will answer questions. And also, as a bonus slide, I did want to include stubber, crack, drainage, holes, pitting, scaling, slope, just so that council can see that there are standards. These standards are pretty objective. We look at 2 adjacent flags with a vertical separation greater than 1/2 an inch. That's a stubber. Cracked, broken flag with a single crack or multiple cracks, drainage, a flag that is sunken, collecting water over 25% of the flag, holes, pitting, all of these do have standards that we apply to every sidewalk flag within these districts. And then the last thing that I kind of added is to saw cut, because sometimes we get questions, why can't they just saw cut this? We can only saw cut 1/2 an inch or less, and we usually do that on a corner where 2 sidewalk flags meet. And in that case, we can do that because it's not going to degrade the sidewalk. But you never want to go over 1/2 inch because you could actually degrade the corner of that sidewalk, and then it would be a source of failure that would probably not last for the 10 years that we typically want to make sure everything we inspected and we consider good is good for.
I do have a question regarding the sidewalk hardship committee, the criteria, the 20,000. When's the last time we looked at that? Because it's, I mean, I think that many people won't be in that income range, but they might be a little bit higher, but still need.
Yeah, I think we looked at that in 2024 as well, and I believe that was established off of a county recommendation for, I think we modeled it off of the CDBG program that took place in 2022, but that's a fair point, and we can look to see if the county has changed or if there's a standard that we should apply that's different from that.
I think that's a stretch for individuals. I mean, there may be people who are at that income level, but there are people who are probably even slightly above that that wouldn't qualify for this and need this. So yes, I like those numbers, if we can get those. Anyone else has any questions to add regarding the sidewalk replacement program?
Through the chair, I see the engineer's opinion of the cost is around $280,000, and the lowest bidder is $237,000. What, in your, experience, what do you think that margin of error is? Where do you think the actual cost is going to likely fall there?
Well, so the recommended authorization is taking the low bid unit cost, so all of these costs that are arranged in this table, and then applying it to the actual 100% verified inspected districts. So it is going to fall slightly below $339,615. Where the engineer's opinion comes from is we had less work. So if you just look at it, it's roughly, we thought that we had $20,000 worth, or 20,000 square feet of concrete work. That is what the low bid on, and that is what the engineer's opinion of cost put together pricing for. We actually had another 10,000 square feet that we needed to do, which is why the recommended authorization is so much higher than the lowest bid. So you'll notice that the engineer's opinion of cost is roughly in the middle between the low and the high bid. So in a competitive process, it is typical for that engineering number to be a little bit higher than the lowest bid, but much lower than the highest bid, if that makes sense.
It does, thank you.
I do have a question again regarding that 20,000. If we find that Oakland County is at a different level, I mean, even if we approve this tonight, will that be incorporated into, could this be amended to show that, or will we be locked into the 20,000 based on this season?
Yeah, so I would defer to the city attorney, but I don't believe that we're locking in the metrics that we would use for the hardship program. I think we have the flexibility to change
You can come back
that.
and modify that as it applies to the program. I mean, the request is to approve the contract. So I think you could still do that based on additional information relative to what the county may be doing in that regard.
And I might have asked this, I feel like I've asked this before at some point, but do we have to go by the county's metrics for this?
I believe
I think the city used to rely on the Department of Michigan, State of Michigan Department of Treasury's number, and then it modified its approach because the county CDBG program was, I think, a little bit, had different numbers that were more, that would provide additional opportunities for additional people to participate. So that, I'm not directly answering your question, Mayor. I'd have to look at that, whether or not there is some criteria above which the city could not entertain relief.
That's what I'd like to know more about that, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just add that there is some time between now and September, October. The final amounts are mailed to residents early September, so we have between now and then for council to make recommendations for the city manager, DPW to kind of collaborate on what that limit is and what the qualifications will be for the hardship program.
Any other questions? Do we have a roll call?
Sabatini?
Yes.
Mikulski?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Leaks May.
Yes. All right. Okay. Thank you. Right. Now we're going on to the discussion items. I feel like, I don't know. I think I'm just ready to swear in this new council member. How about you? I think I'm ready to do that.
I would support that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
You're up.
Ms. LaSalle, if you'd like to join us?
Nope, right up here. Oh. Yeah. Right up for all to see.
Up the stairs?
Yes.
Raise your right hand. I, Nina LaSalle,
I, Nina LaSalle,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of this state,
the Constitution of this state,
and the Charter of the City of Ferndale,
and the Charter of the City of Ferndale,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of City Council member
the duties of City Council member
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
You have to make it official.
This is your copy.
And now this is an opportunity, Nina, if you'd like to, officially Councilmember LaSalle, if you would like to say a couple words at the podium as the newest council member.
I just want to say thank you. I won't let you guys down. I'm very, very excited. Short and
All right.
sweet.
Thank you. Welcome aboard. All right. Our next discussion item is council boards and commission appointments, which I can tell you that I'm not at all prepared to talk about tonight, so if you all want to think about that. I don't think we need to do an overhaul of all boards and commissions, but there are some boards and commissions that Councilmember Sabatini did hold, and that if there's an opportunity that you feel like you want to, try something new, now's the opportunity to kind of, well, let me know in maybe the next couple weeks before the next council meeting, because at that council meeting, we will have a motion to assign the boards and commissions to our newest council member, as well as switch out any appointments that you all want, that you all are holding. So I just don't have it in me to do tonight, forgive me. But now we are moving on to then call to council, and I'll defer to the city manager.
DPW?
One quick reminder, trash and recycling pickup is delayed by 1 day, so if you were today, you are actually tomorrow, all the way up until Saturday. And then we have a new water use software platform that is being rolled out. We will have some communications coming out soon, tomorrow morning, I believe. Communications can give specifics on that. It's pretty simple. It's with Neptune as opposed to WaterSmart, so we're moving away from that platform to one that's a little bit more accurate, a little less alarm notifications, and this is something that we're excited to promote. It's a very simple sign-on. You just need your account number, email address, and then your name, and that's about it. And you'll be able to see that. Sign-in will be online tomorrow, so look for social media and website updates.
Clerks?
Not too much from us, just that AV applications will be going out at the end of this week for all residents that are on the AV application list for the August 4th state primary.
Parks?
Hi, everybody. Can y'all hear me? I'm still trying to get used to all this stuff, so I appreciate it. Well, Parks and Rec, we have like a whole bunch of announcements, but I'm gonna keep it short and sweet because I'm sure we are ready to get out of here. First with like some good news, Safety Town went very well last Thursday. We had a record number of attendees and want to give a special shout out to Hannah at Communications for taking great pictures and being a great help for us there. Also, the Martin Road Park construction is going well and is on schedule. And also the splash pad is now open. So it's open every day from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. at Martin Road Park. So definitely do that as the weather gets warmer. And also, tomorrow, the Ferndale Senior Group has a meeting over at the Hazel Park Community Center over at 620 West Woodward Heights at 11 a.m. We're going to have a very great salad potluck, a lot of good food there, and also have the Ferndale Library coming to talk to us about some updates with them. Also, tomorrow will be the day that we release our new newsletters through the LPI contract. So super excited to send those out and start the new newsletters with those. So that's some of like the updates around the neighborhood. And then we have like a lot of programs and that we are opening up for registration. So one of the big things is the Geary Park Skate Jam is open, and that's happening next Saturday, June 6th, from 11 to 4 at Geary Park, right around 9 Mile and Pinecrest area. It's free to the public, and it costs only $10 to compete. And the competitions we have are skateboarding, BMX, scooters, and quads. And we're going to have a ton of stuff there, vendors, DJs, bounce house, and food trucks, all the great things. So I brought some flyers so y'all can see me for them. And I also put some over on the lobby area of City Hall, so you can definitely grab those. And what else do we have going on? Yeah, we have our flag football camp registration is now open. So that starts Sunday, June 7th and goes until June 28th. It's $75 and it's at Martin Road Park. We also have water aerobics that happens on Saturdays. They have 2 sessions. So there's one at 10:30 a.m. and one at 11:45 a.m. And that's starting next Saturday, June 6th as well, and goes until July 18th. And it's $70 and it's at Ferndale High School. We also have youth and adult tennis registration that's now open. And so the ranges for that are from $68 to $95, depending on the age of what you're doing with that. We also have an adult strength and tone class that's on Mondays at 6 p.m. at the Curling Club, which will be starting in about 2 weeks on June 8th. And it goes until July 13th, and that's $60. Also, we've been starting our walking group again on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. at Harding Park, so we'll be doing that tomorrow at 9 a.m. You could see me there with some of the seniors, and it's completely free, so we'll be doing that every Wednesday at 9 until October, so feel free to meet me there. We also have storytelling, which is on Thursdays at 1:30 at Incubizo at 1938 Burdette, where the Parks and Rec office is at. That's free as well, so that's a little bit more low impact. You can just get to know your neighbors and share really, really interesting stories on those, so that's good. And let me see here. Oh yeah, and then for trips, and so the Ferndale Senior Group, we have a couple cool trips coming up in June. So we're going to the DIA on Thursday, June 25th, to experience the melodies at the museum. So they're gonna have a Motown theme that day, so it should be super fun. And it only costs $4 if you're gonna ride the Smart Bus with us, and you don't even have to worry about parking downtown. So we definitely have spots open for that. And then we have another trip the day after on Friday, June 26th, that we actually partnered with Southfield, Royal Oak, and West Bloomfield Senior Centers. And it's the Taste of the Time Progressive Luncheon. And we'll be visiting all those senior centers while enjoying coffee, mocktails, getting some lunch and dessert while playing some cool, fun things like bingo and trivia and all those things. So we're meeting at Incubizo at 9:15 a.m. And registration for that ends on June 15th at 11 a.m. And it is $30, and that's all inclusive. So, you know, it's almost like a cruise or something. You get it all given that way. And we also still have summer camp registration. It's still open. The Camp Joy Route one for ages 5 to 7 is mostly sold out, but the camps for the other ages between 8 and 12 have more spots open. And then lastly, the Harding Park Skating Rink renovation fundraiser has just launched. You've probably seen it on some of the social media. So we're just needing help from the community to reach the goal with our match with that. And it ends within 45 days. So our goal is to get the 62.5K for that to get the renovations going. So if y'all want to pull out your phones right now or, just check it out, you can go to patronicity.com/Harding and you can see all the details for that. But we're definitely looking to get that match soon because we have the deadline. So that's that. I'm going to breathe now. So thank y'all.
Comms?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So yeah, communications, we do have a couple things going on. The Patronicity campaign, we're very actively going to be pushing and promoting. As James mentioned, the Neptune portal information is going to launch tomorrow morning. So kind of a background about why we're making the switch from WaterSmart, how to sign up for the program, what the benefits are, et cetera. So there will be a lot of content for that in the morning. And then I know we talked a lot about sidewalks tonight, so I just want to touch on kind of the communications plan for the sidewalks. So to start, that map that James had in the presentation, I'm going to redesign to kind of format it so it's a little bit easier to read, a little bit more visually friendly, kind of in the style of the leaf pickup maps and things like that. Both James and Colleen have submitted some really comprehensive website updates. So right now we have a joint sidewalk and roads and streets page, but I think it makes a lot more sense to just have a sidewalk page by itself. So I'm going to go through with their updates and then kind of go through the discussion here tonight and make sure I'm hitting all the questions and all the points that we need. And then from there, I will share the update with the map on it, with the social posts, and if we need to touch on the sidewalk hardship committee meeting, I'll roll that all together. So just want to let you know it's in motion, and I should have all that done probably by the end of the week. So thank you.
That's it for staff updates. Right. Wow.
I feel like I'm picking on you tonight. I don't know, I'm looking to my left here, but your turn.
Thank you,
You're
Madam
up.
Mayor. I'll start with reading the resolution really quickly that we passed with the consent agenda. It's a resolution in support of the bills that would ensure the creation and consistent funding of a state revenue sharing trust fund. This is currently in front of the House of Representatives in Lansing. It passed unanimously in the Senate. It's got bipartisan support, which is exciting. So here's the resolution. Michigan municipalities rely on state revenue sharing to provide essential public services. State revenue sharing directly supports public safety, infrastructure, maintenance, parks, recreation, code enforcement, and other critical community services. Predictable and sustainable local government funding is essential to maintaining safe, vibrant, and financially stable communities throughout the state of Michigan. The recently adopted bipartisan legislation by the Michigan Senate would establish a state revenue sharing trust fund to help ensure long-term, reliable funding for municipalities across Michigan. Creating a dedicated and protected funding structure would provide greater financial clarity for local governments and improve long-range planning, fiscal stability, and service delivery for residents. Strong local governments are foundational to Michigan's economic health, quality of life, and statewide prosperity. Uncertainty in annual funding levels actively undermines the ability of local government to plan for reliable services and long-term solutions to local challenges. It's time for this deficiency to be corrected. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the City Council of the City of Ferndale express its support for the creation of the State Revenue Sharing Trust Fund and encourages the Michigan House of Representatives to work in bipartisan manner to adopt this legislation unanimously passed by the Michigan Senate and currently in front of them into law, and urges state leaders to continue pursuing sustainable, equitable, and reliable municipal funding solutions that protect the long-term financial security of Michigan communities and its residents. A couple other things really quickly. I briefly touched upon this in the end of the last meeting. The Ferndale Public Schools is building a community foundation to help directly support students, teachers, programs, and educational opportunities across the district. So what this foundation would do is help them pursue grants, partnerships, scholarships, and other community-driven investment beyond what the traditional school funding alone can provide them. A lot of different schools do this at various levels of education, from universities to preschools, and it would be very exciting, I think, for the Ferndale Public Schools to get this started. There was one in 1989, I believe, if I'm quoting that correctly, and there was a balance. They shut down around COVID, and there was a balance of about $40,000. So the foundation is starting off $40,000 up, which is very exciting. So if you're interested in participating in that nonprofit, they are looking for any level of participation, from board members to brainstormers. There's a link to a survey on my Facebook page. I will try to get that out in other ways as well. As you know, as always, you can reach out to me directly. But very excited to provide updates with that one as time goes on. You know, strong community, strong schools create strong community. You know, like this SRS funding, we need all the help we can get, right? So I've got high hopes for this one. I was excited to see also on the consent agenda that Harvest Festival on Livernois is going to get its 5th year celebration. I didn't see, forgive me, did they successfully petition to get Livernois shut down again? Do we know that?
Yes.
Thank you. Nice. They did. That's incredible. No small feat. That one is in October, October. So plenty of time to block that one off on your calendar. I took the week off from office hours, took the holiday weekend off, so I'll be back at it in June. But reach out via text or phone in the meantime, or email, however you prefer. And then take a look at the Harding Park Skate Rink crowdfunding campaign. I think the theme of my call to council is we need all the financial help we can get these days. Take a look, share with your friends, family, and neighbors. It's a beloved community asset that is used for much more than just inline hockey. People learn to ride their bikes in there, little kids ride their trikes. So it'll be nice to see it back up to tip-top shape. So thank you to Parks and Rec for spearheading that one. That's it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
And I just have a quick question regarding that foundation you were talking about.
Yes.
Was the previous foundation the Ferndale Education Foundation?
Correct. Yeah,
I do remember that.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yes.
So a lot of success, and it was because of COVID that it shut down. That was it sort of lost steam, and now the Superintendent Camille Hibbler is working with the board to bring that back up, and they're excited to partner with us at the city and find, help get the word out, sure, and help get community involvement, but see where our goals align, and we can partner to help each other reach our goals a little bit more easily.
I know about that because I was on that committee for many years, and I know that they had a scholarship that they were giving out to seniors at one point, and it just all kind of just went away.
Well, hopefully it's coming right
Yeah,
back,
I
and
hope so.
I'm sure they're excited to work with you again.
That's fabulous. All right, Councilmember Kelly.
Sure. I'll start with the resolution recognizing June 2026 as Gay Pride Month. The city of Ferndale is the community that respects and values its various talents and diversity demonstrated by those who live, work, and gather in our city. And we, the City Council, reaffirmed June as the month in which LGBTQ+ individuals globally, along with their numerous allies, commemorate the historic Stonewall Rights of June of 1969, a pivotal moment when gay men and women, trans individuals, and drag queens rose against injustice and inequity. We wholeheartedly recognize that the city of Ferndale values its diversity and that every individual deserves the right to live free from prejudice and discrimination regardless of age, gender, gender identity, race, color, religion, marital status, national origin, sexual orientation, or physical challenges. Consequently, it is hereby resolved that the City Council acknowledges and honors June 2026 as Gay Pride Month in Ferndale. We encourage all residents of Michigan to educate themselves about the significant Stonewall movement. So on that note, I hope to see everyone at Pride this Saturday Opening ceremonies are at 12:30. 1 o'clock will be the first shows. I think there's the DJ starts on one end, and there'll be a drag show on the other end, starting at 1. And then our flag raising ceremony is Monday at City Hall at 6:30. So it's, first one I'll be missing. I'll be out of town for my birthday, but it's a pretty cool event. So if you can, stop on by. And then I wanted to thank Director Jamison and the DPW crew for a super successful recycling day event. I really thought it worked out well having it there. It was super organized, and yeah, appreciate you and your team.
Mayor Pro Tem Mikulski.
Start with the resolution recognizing the 95th anniversary of the Ferndale Garden Club. The Ferndale Garden Club was organized in 1931 with a mission to share the love of gardening throughout the community and advocate for the protection of wild birds. For 95 years, the Ferndale Garden Club has helped beautify and strengthen the community through civic engagement, environmental stewardship, education, and volunteerism. The organization continues its long-standing commitment to Ferndale through efforts including maintaining a community garden, providing scholarships to graduating Ferndale High School students, and offering garden programs and workshops to residents. The Ferndale Garden Club's dedication to sustainability, conservation, and community enrichment has positively impacted generations of residents and contributed to the character and vibrancy of the city of Ferndale. And the city recognizes and celebrates the countless members, past and present, whose time and passion and service have helped cultivate both the natural beauty and community connection within Ferndale. And the Ferndale City Council hereby recognizes and celebrates the 95th anniversary of the Ferndale Garden Club and extends its gratitude and appreciation for nearly a century of service to the community. And other than that, Mayor, I have nothing else. This has been a long meeting, and I just wanted to say I appreciate everybody attending and all that we have gone through tonight. Thank you.
So again.
You know what, I
welcome.
actually want to say something
Okay.
else, because I just got a letter that just.
You're okay.
I'll save it for another time.
Okay. I want to, one, congratulate again newest Councilmember Nina LaSalle. Thank you for sticking it out and wanting to be part of the process and serving your community. I guess to our clerk and to our communications, I don't know how we're going to do this, or even to the city manager, but I really want to keep up the momentum for tonight. As many people that we had apply, they really should know about all the boards and commissions that are open right now. Maybe if we can, we have a listing of everyone who applied, maybe we can send something out to them to show that these are open, and please stay involved.
Yeah, I did encourage folks when we let them know if they weren't moving on in the process to check out a board and commission vacancies, and even to apply for things if there wasn't a vacancy, because we'll keep those applications on file.
Okay, all right. But other than that, if I had something to think about, it's gone now, so this meeting's adjourned at 9:31. Thank you. Everything okay? What's going on?